together and start to build a small nation. But we have to face the reality, oh Lord, of some of the problems we have affecting we. Suicide killing our whole country, while some preaching division and enmity. The fuss and the fight will take us nowhere. Let us make a new commitment this year. Instead we get on as enemies. Let's try to work as a family. Yeah. One flag, one blood, one people, one nation. One love, one people, one nation. We must work together as a unit if we want to move this land off its feet. Yeah. Instead of you pulling here and I'm pulling here. We must work together as a family, my people, in order to build our small country. Instead of the backbiting and the gossiping, come let us do some nation building. One flag, one blood. One people, one nation, one land, one love, one people, one nation. Till the world ends. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. We got to rise up. One nation. We come now, live for my brothers and my sisters. Yeah. Oh, no. We so often cry, the country's going astray, doing nothing, people right away. Rampant at schools, our drugs and so Lord, and for the children, some adults show no respect.
It's 5 minutes moving down past the hour of 8 o'clock. Welcome to Focus on Government and Development for today, June 21, 2018. Some say June 21 is the longest day of the year. And indeed, it's bright sunshine until about 7 o'clock this evening. But it's a wet and rainy day. And we're live here on DBS Radio and Kyrie FM for Focus on Government and Development. And it's going to be a very, very good program tonight. Because our guest tonight, the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Investments, Housing and Lands, the Parliamentary Representative for the Viecas constituency, the Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, and with him is the Honorable Minister for the Environment, Climate Resilience, Disaster Management and Urban Renewal, the Parliamentary Representative for the Roseau Central constituency, and that is the Honorable Joseph Isaac. They are already in studio. We'll give them about 2 minutes to settle down and get things going, and then we'll be right back to get into the discussion here on DBS Radio and Kyrie FM.
new millennium. Time we come together and start to build a small nation. But we have to face the reality, oh Lord, of some of the problems we have affecting we. Suicide is killing our whole country, while some preaching division and enmity. The fuss and the fight will take us nowhere. Let us make a new commitment this year. Instead we get on as enemies. Let's try to work as a family. Yeah. One flag, one blood, one people, one nation. One flag, one love, one people, one nation. We must work together as a unit if we want to move this land off its feet. Yeah. Instead of you pulling here and I'm pulling here, come let us do some nation building. We must work together as a family, my people, in order to build our small country. Yeah. Instead of the backbiting and the gossiping, come let us do some nation building. Oh yeah, one flag, one blood.
And at 9 minutes, moving down past the hour of 8 o'clock on this wet Thursday night, we go over to Studio 2 and say good night or good evening to the Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit and the Honorable Joseph Isaac.
Good evening, Daryl, and good evening to the listeners here in Dominica and abroad.
Of course, good evening to you, Daryl, and of course, all the listeners. I'm happy to be here in the DBS studios.
We're live on DBS and Kyrie FM.
Kyrie FM,
yes,
okay.
Yes,
so big up to Kyrie FM crew.
Prime Minister, you have been making the rounds, going about. How are things? Everything is okay? Everything going well?
You know, so far so good. You know, the more you do work, is more work you have to do.
Yes.
You know, so it's a never-ending task.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, today I spent time seeing some people. I may have seen about, maybe 30 plus today. Then visit a project in the gardens that we're doing there and additional things that we need to do in the botanical gardens, along with the Minister Isaac and Minister McIntyre and the staff to look at the vision for the gardens and to see what additional infrastructure we need to put in place. Mm-hmm. And of course, I'm sure Isaac will speak about this later in the evening. And then we had a consultation with the private sector, the civil society, and the trade unions on the budget. And I must say that it was a very constructive engagement today, very mature engagement. And I think as time goes by, there's an improvement in the quality of the discourse and and the ideas and I think if we continue on that trajectory, then I think the country would be better off. So I really want to thank all those who came, who made the time to come to the consultation, and I'm sure that there'll be many ideas that will find their way into the budget of this year. And of course, I can say off the bat that the implementation of the convention, or at least certain articles of the convention, for people with disability, the number of conventions that the association has asked us to consider to be part of the budget statement, and I can say off the bat that we will be certainly be implementing those. We'll be putting the administrative mechanism in place to oversee the implementation of the convention in a step-by-step process. But there are a number of recommendations that have come from them, and we will certainly consider implementing them. I must commend the leadership of the Dominica Association of People with Disabilities. I mean, they're really solid advocates. You know, they're very hard hitting people. You know, very articulate. I mean, Irma Raymond and our friend there, Mrs. Murphy.
Murphy, yes.
These are two solid, hard hitting people. You know, they know how to negotiate.
And they are sharp. Pierre.
Very sharp, very bright people. You know, so having a disability does not mean you're dead. You know, you have your life to live, and you can live your life. And and for example, they made a comment about the sidewalks that we constructed
yes.
Along the ministerial building. So Minister McIntyre will get the folks to chisel it down and to allow for the access of the people with disabilities. So the 3 edges that were built, not in keeping with the 21st century, certainly will be chiseled up next week and reconstructed to the satisfaction of the very important group of people in our country.
Prime Minister, you mentioned that in the budget, the disabilities, they will be taken care of, the conventions implemented. But what can the public expect for the 2018-2019 budget?
I think outside of the infrastructure, and of course we can speak to this later on if you wish, but I think this budget needs to focus on improving the climate of doing business in Dominica. We need to look at what are the challenges people have in doing business in Dominica, and we need to systematically address them. Do we need to amend existing legislation? Do we need to introduce new legislation? Do we need to get rid of existing legislation? Are there policy decisions we could take? Are there some structural changes we need to make? What is it that we need to do? And this was part of the focus of the engagement with the social and economic partners today. How is life treating you as a business person? And because at the end of the day, the private sector really are the front line of the business, and we have to hear from them and to listen to them and to see how we can work together towards addressing this. So I think the budget needs to look at this and to see what measures we can take as a country to improve the climate for doing business. Obviously, there has been some improvements, but people still complain.
Yeah.
And what are they complaining about? What are the challenges? And so that we can put a program in place, a regime in place, to allow this to happen. And what we're going to be doing, these are things that we've attempted before, but we need to zero in on it and get it done and set timelines to get it done, is that we will put an oversight committee in place made up of both the private and public sector to monitor and to oversee the implementation of the measures that the government will take insofar as doing business is concerned. So at customs, why are goods taking so long to be cleared? What is the problem? Because when we introduced the Articular World was to cause it to be more efficient. Are we implementing it into the extent which the law allows it and the framework allows it? The port, there's not much you can do at the port in terms of physical aspect because the port was not built in any comprehensive manner. It was built piece by piece. So it's like a jigsaw puzzle. It's just like a maze, and we can speak later on about the intention of the government to build a new port in Dominica. So it's a matter of looking at things, the legislation, the approval process for various licenses, and to ensure that we can respond in a practical way. Because once people can feel much more comfortable and greater confidence in the environment, then we'll see people investing more. And that's what we have to give people a good experience when they come there, and that will involve also reminding ourselves for the need to watch our own attitudes as citizens and residents. So we'll be focusing on that heavily. And of course, the budget will seek to lay the foundation for our move towards the creation of the world's first climate resilient nation. And the idea is to build the city as a sample, as a model, that what the rest of the country would look like going forward. So we will be certainly starting the first phase, or the second phase rather, of the roads enhancement project, where we'll be focusing on a certain number of streets in the city, to new sidewalks, new drainage. We'll be putting the docks, so that the electrical lines and the telephone lines could be placed in underground docks, and to enhance the resilience capabilities of our city, and of course taking it in the future to the rest of the country.
Any new taxes in the budget?
No, I don't think so. I am not sure yet, because it's still early days, so I can say yes and no, but in a small country like ours, there's always a need for increased revenue and increased sources of revenue, so it's always a challenge of juggling with resources. Sometimes, because we're a generous government, people feel that we have a lot of money, and it's not that you have a lot of money, you're just being responsive to the needs of the people. But sometimes there's a lot of juggling to take place, and especially in the post-Hurricane Maria situation, where your revenue has been severely impaired, and for obvious reasons. I mean, when in big countries, they're faced with disaster, the economy will be challenged, the revenue will be challenged. Far more for a small country like ours, So with a waiving of VAT and import duty for 6 months, and then an extension of the import duty waivers for another period of time, I mean, you can understand how much revenue you've lost as a result of that. And we have to facilitate people who wanted to put their lives back into order, and the businesses back into order. So we had to do that. It was the right thing to do, it was a wise thing to do, and it was the appropriate thing to do, and we did it. But that certainly affected the revenue of the country. But while your revenue has been severely eroded, your expenditure has been significantly increased. So you can imagine that, So really, you are spending in large measure more than you're making. You understand? And even in going to the budget, you will see where we are seeking to front load investment. The government must not be hiding money; it must spend money, and it must spend the money in the economy to generate economic activity. Because if the major or the major consumer of goods and services become thrifty or hiding this money and not be able to spend, it's going to have a serious impact on growth and economic activity in the country. And therefore, the government will be placing itself, understand this, the government will be placing itself in some difficulties to make life better for the rest of the country. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So we'll be spending to make life better for the country. But if you were to be extraordinarily frugal or focus more on macroeconomic issues, you would not be spending as much as you will be spending in the budget. You'll be holding money because you want to have a positive surplus, a primary balance surplus, and so forth, and all these things are fine. But in this circumstance, I believe it is wise for the government to spend, and to spend as much as it has. And if it doesn't have enough, it should borrow some to do some fundamental things. Because in the small islands, the government spending is important. The public sector investment program is crucial, because many businesses rely on the state consumption to survive and to generate revenue. So we have to spend, and you will be seeing that in the budget. So while we are paying attention to some of the macroeconomic issues, but we also have to be concerned about the microeconomic issues. How does the budget get down to the man on the street? How does it help to fix a man's home? How does it help to get the farmers into the farm? You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And all of these things, the budget will be taken into consideration. How do we create greater resilience in the economy, in the infrastructure, in creating sustainable livelihoods? So we will be spending really more than we have at the time. But it's important that we do so. But please, you know.
I want to ask you one question before I go to Mr. Isaac.
Yeah,
just one more.
I was just about to tell you, ask Isaac all the difficult questions. Let me relax tonight.
But just one more. I know we had a consultation today.
Yeah.
And this has been your hallmark. I know since you became the Minister for Finance, it has been your hallmark to consult. Before, the budget was something where you'd only hear about on budget day. Is that a trend going forward? Will there be more consultations before?
Of course. And we don't only consult during the budget and so on. We have consulted. We don't always agree among ourselves, those whom are consulted. But it's good for democracy and good for people to share their views. And the truth is, if the entities whom we engage in consultation are honest with themselves, and they are in fact honest with themselves, they will tell you that a number of the recommendations that they've made have found themselves their way into the budget statement and even into legislation. So the number, we can list to you dozens and dozens of recommendations that have come through consultative processes, and sometimes people who write to you directly making the recommendations, and an idea, no matter where it comes from, if there is a benefit to the country, to the idea, then let us go with it. And that's what we have been doing. So and it is important to consult so that everybody is part of the process. And you're right. This was not the case before. People take it for granted now, but this wasn't the case. As a matter of fact, I can tell you, back in the days, up until I became Prime Minister in 2004, and way back in David Eugene days, and even with ULP days, the ministers were first hearing the budget on the date it was being presented to the whole country. They never saw a copy of the statement. There was a private property of the Minister of Finance, but in our case, we go through a very extensive consultative process, and it is a final document that has the input of a wide cross section of the society, including the cabinet ministers.
Yes, definitely. Minister Isaac, you ready for some tough questions?
Yes.
Minister Isaac, let's begin with this one. I think it's a soft delivery, but it's your innings now. Is it a better fit over here?
Yeah, man. I won't go in depth in terms of the better fit, but let me just say something first. I would like to really thank the people of Roseau, for understanding and giving me the support. Those who were slow to understand the vision, I see now they are coming on board, and when they meet me, they are saying that now they understand. And most of them are saying now that if they were in my place, they would make that decision for the people of Roseau and for Dominica. In regards to a fit, I would say that the Prime Minister and I have been spending a lot of time together, professionally, also on the ground. We hang out in River Street. We hang out, that's where the guys on the block. We hanged out in the one pot spot that spot by Jason. We hang out by JRs, so we have been spending a lot of time in terms of just normal time, not no political times. One thing I can say about him is, I think, if anything that I would have to say is, he really cares about people. And I told him once, forget about the politics, he's a total person. He feels the pain of people. You can see him move from switching from the economics talk back to the people, and then switching back from economics to, you can see he talk about education, then he talk about the issue of resilience. So he's a total person. And I think what Dominicans should realize is a warmth. That's why I want to also agree with him that when your economy, and in most countries, when an economy take a slight dip, like we call it a recession, what you do, the government try to stimulate the economy by increasing spending. In the context of small island states, it is even more severe, because in most of the small island states, the government itself, central government, is one of the largest investors. So if the largest investor doesn't really spend and play tight and frugal, then the country will even go into a further deep and recession. So what you need to do is really come, spend, be responsible as he has been. Working close with him, I see how responsible he is. He has a soft spot for the people, so sometimes he might sacrifice and make some spending where it can have an impact on the people. But he has been very responsible as a Minister of Finance, and I always try to separate the both portfolio, Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, because you could have a Prime Minister who is not the Minister of Finance, but I find he takes this position very seriously. In the same vein, talking about the people, I would like to also call on the people. I know the people in the hospital and in the infirmary, if you are listening, just want you to know we have your back. We'll pray for you. Keep strength. The families, let's pray for the people in the hospital. Let's pray for the people in the infirmary. And, just give them the love. So Daryl, to answer your question in a nutshell, sometimes it's never good to go back in life and criticize where you were. You understand? But what I can say is I'm very, very comfortable working with the Prime Minister personally and also professionally. We have had a lot of good times so far. I've learned a lot, learned his personality, and also learned a lot in terms of just his connection with people. I thought I was really good before, but I'm on the learning curve, I think, and I said it before, I think one of his biggest strengths is people, and I said it on radio and people took me to task, but I was saying it from a distance, and now I'm close, then I know for sure I'm on target and I'm correct on that. So you can come with another ball, let me bat.
Well, let's see. You have been handed what many have described as a super ministry.
Yeah.
Climate resilience, urban renewal, disaster management, the environment.
Yeah.
Tell us about your ministry at this time.
The ministry is coming on. We have some great staff working with across the board. In terms of my direct support, we have been working with about 3 different PS. One who held tourism and urban renewal before. She's backing up with me. That's PS Prevo. We have had serious contact with also the PS of agriculture. That's PS Thomas. And we also had the PS of health also. So a lot of interaction between the different PS. We are different departments. So we are under my portfolio. You have the forestry division. I've put a lot of effort and energy in the forestry division because we see it as a major pivot for bringing back Dominica in regards to the greenery and also the protection of our ecosystems and also our wildlife. So we have focused a lot of energies there. We have a lot of young professionals there with the energy. What we have done in our first instant in regards to the first week, 2 weeks, we kept an internal consultation and we brought in some of the long-time heads. I don't want to say old heads, the long-time guys like Galeon and Walkers and all those guys to work with them, and we had an internal consultation. So right now we are trying to organize the actual implementation of what we came up with, and some of it have already been rolling out. For example, people in the countryside, I would see that they are clearing most of the rivers, so a lot of work is being done in clearing the rivers right now as we speak. All this week they were doing that, and you'll see, for example, most of the key areas like botanical gardens, they actually clean up and clear up all those areas there. We did a pilot project of planting trees to stimulate Dominica and stimulate our young people to see the importance of planting trees. Also, we are engaging also foreign companies and talking to them in regards to coming down to help in terms of developing the watershed. And our forestry actually started a project in the private sector where they are involved in helping or working with a private sector company, and so far gave them 5 acres of some of the forest land to clear and to harvest trees, and at the same time plant new species of trees there for the protection of the environment. So that's in terms of, just giving a nutshell in terms of the issue of environment and the forestry division. Later on I'll talk about the issue of where we're moving in the direction of protection and legislation and enforcement. In regards to urban renewal, when I came in, I met a lot of work being done already by the government, and there's a clear vision. As a matter of fact, the government vision was in sync with all the vision, my vision I had and articulated during the campaign. So again, we were seeing eye to eye on a lot of things. The Prime Minister also had some of his vision was again in line with my vision. All we had to do is work on in terms of the individual operations in regards to how do you implement the vision. For example, the clear vision for Roseau was to establish the first climate resilient green city in the Caribbean. We have an advantage here. For example, we have a river passing in our city, and we have a botanic garden in the city. So that there put us in a position where we are well poised to take advantage of that and position Roseau City as a gem in terms of tourism. So so in regards to that area there, it is clear where we can go in terms of urban renewal. We have an urban officer. I asked him to place on my desk all studies and drawings and all that was done for the urban area. He did the research already. I'm waiting for that to be placed on my desk. We also, last week, we had a discussion with the Director of Forestry and the PS of Agriculture, where we have already discussed and decided, and I think letters should be going out this week, maybe by today or tomorrow, to individuals who we are going to set up an implementation committee for the Botanic Gardens. It will include, so that implementation committee, the Prime Minister and myself, we discussed the matter because we have a vision for the Botanic Gardens, but we can't do it alone. So we say, okay, let us bring in guys with the experience and people that used to work on some projects there in the past. So they will be contacting them very soon. I'm asking them, when the officers contact you, don't be reluctant, let's come and work together and move it forward. So that's in terms of urban renewal. In regards, and I just touch in quick so the listeners can see that a lot of work have been done. But in terms of urban renewal, I even forget that one of the major projects that actually was, the vision was there by the Prime Minister, but through discussion with the Prime Minister and the Minister of Works, you'd see we actually broke a record in Dominica. We created and actually rebuilt a new road in the gardens because we actually graded out the old road and established a new road over 1,000 feet long. Where the gardens road itself. In a record time, started the project May 25th, and right now we are 95% complete. Created approximately 30 jobs, short-term jobs there. At the same time, engaged free contractors. That again spreading the bread among different people there. So that's I say that there is a sample, a project to show that with the challenges we have had in the past as a small island state of implementation and lack of capacity, what it showed there was a Prime Minister had a vision. He pulled 2 ministers together and other technical people, and in less than a month he created over 1,000 feet of road.
And it could be done in 2 weeks.
Yes.
If we had material.
Yes, we had capacity issues in terms of the private sector being able to deliver concrete. So if they could have delivered the concrete on time, in 2 weeks we'd have broken a record that I don't think have been done before, where we'd have created 30 short-term jobs, impacted 3 small contractors, and at the same time get a proper product of a certain quality in terms of engineering. Because by sourcing the concrete, we reached the proper specification in terms of PSI. So that is just a sample to show that when the budget is really, when the Prime Minister addressed Dominica in regards to the budget, people will be seeing a lot of spending, because we had some discussions already and consultation within cabinet. But people, the concern might be, how are we going to do it? And we have shown it. So what we are calling on, we're calling all Dominicans, and in my portfolio in the area of urban renewal, to really come on board. We might have different views on different things, but I always say people can argue on matters of technical things, but you can't be arguing for argument's sake. It must have a solution. So we have to come together, come on board, and let us help each other and let's implement. Forget the politics. So Daryl, in regards, I've given you clearly in terms of the environment, urban renewal, I can talk on disaster management. What we did, when I came in, a lot of work was already in place. What I did is, me and Prime Minister, we discussed, and we say, let us have early meetings in NIPO, that the disaster planning organization in Dominica National. We established an early meeting, and so far we have had 3 major meetings. What we did, we encouraged the staff to work with all those different international organizations, and we asked them to focus on delivery. And we keep reiterating, not just work for working's sake, but what are you measuring? What are your indicators? What are you reporting on? So what we have done, and where we have done an audit in terms of shelters, and that's where we have a little shortfall there. We have some areas we need to improve those shelters and or build new shelters, and we call some of them regional shelters. So we have a project that the Disaster Vulnerable Risk Management Program, the VRP, in which you have monies there for doing such work. That day, I just want to tell the public that this area of the regional shelters will take a little time, so you have to have patience there. But we'll try to see if we can implement a major one. We'll also try to use, there are some drawings for the big ones, but we'll try to downscale some of the drawings to give some smaller ones in different places. Our focus, again, have to be people-based. So in regards to disaster management, I would like to appeal to the public that do not think that disaster management is a government and government-only issue. Every household, every person need to be prepared. Right now, we should be prepared. I remember in 1979, as a young kid, I remember my mother talking about she needed candles, she needs some saltfish. At the time, saltfish was like big poor people thing, Somehow I saw, you understand? Now, modern day now, you have to ask yourself, what do you need? Instead, you need a little solar light. You need some, let's say if you have a generator, I know a lot of people got generator, you need some gas. You need some dry foods. You need a kit, a first aid kit, in case you get injured. And then now you need to look around, check your surrounding. Do we still have trees up that can damage the property? So we need to do all those things as individuals. And we have to move away from just the individual and say, okay, as a community in my village, what can we do? And then what we have been advocating is, and I went to Barber State because some people invited me there to talk to them in terms of disaster management. And other people are inviting me, so I have to do a lot of movement in terms of going and discuss with people. And we spoke about PM and Dr. Mark, we were also in the valley. Our PM, when we had a discussion with them on disaster management up in Fokani. And we have been advocating and telling the people that each community need a disaster plan. And the ODM will, that our outfit there will help in actually helping people to develop their small disaster management plan. And we have also said, and I want the public to know that we'd encourage simulation exercises. But as we're going through, we can't do everything one time, so we start the process. So you'll see us moving aggressive on it in a while. So that's in terms of disaster management. Today again, we got some equipment for the World Food Program, handing over a lot of equipment, logistics equipment, things to prepare us or put us in position for in case, God forbid, we get a disaster. But I also wanted to point out to people that disaster doesn't necessarily mean hurricane. We have floods, we have potential, because Dominica is where we are, and also our geography, our geology, we are prone to earthquakes. So Dominica, I think we as Dominicans need to psychologically prepare ourselves that we are in a disaster zone in terms of our longitude and latitude and our geology, that we will face a disaster. The question is when. We don't know when. So we just have to be prepared. And that is the mantra we have been pushing. Be prepared. In regards to the climate resilience approach and strategy, what we are talking about and trying to advocate again is that every individual need to be cognizant of what that really means. The first thing it means is your ability as an individual, and we can say as a country or as a private company, to withstand a disaster. So the question is, if you have your home, can your home withstand wind speeds up to, let's say, 150, and then we move it up to 200 miles per hour? Can it do it? So if it can't do it, then you have to retrofit or build so that it can withstand that disaster. The second question would be in regards to resilience. If you are hit by a natural disaster, how quick can you bounce back? Will it take you 5 months, 3 months, 2 weeks, 1 week, 3 days? And an example would be, if, for example, you did not have lights after the disaster, how quick can you bounce back? Will it take you 2 days as an individual? And then as a company, for example, Dominica or Doasco, how long can it take you to restore everything in place? So then now we move to the issue of ROSO and building resilience in ROSO. So that is where we will talk later down on the issue of running the utilities underground. And that is what part of the ROSO Road Reinstatement Project. So that there is just a little snapshot on the issue of building better and resilience. And finally, on that area there, I want people to also be aware that even if you have all your materials, let's say we give you materials, or you get the insurance and you're buying your materials, you need to focus on building stronger and better. It is no use you try to cut costs in the first instant, but later down you have a major challenge on your hand. And some people say, one of my good friends say, boy, I don't want to go through the stress of having to have to build back and do all that. So in the first instant, you design better and you build better. I mean, you're not God, so see, things can end up going wrong. Because I mean, I told somebody said, well, if we're going to be resilient, but the houses there, we shouldn't have galvanized, we shouldn't have this. I say, well, the only thing that you can make you be certain is if you have a bunker, as if you're preparing for a war. But in engineering, you have to say, okay, you have to evaluate a cost versus the actual specification you're trying to achieve. Because you can build a house, but can you afford a house for $5 million to build it like a bunker, as if it's a war? So you can't afford it, so you build and put the special specification, put your rafters have hurricane ties. From your rafters, you go down to the structure of the building. If it's wood, you ensure that you have ties going down from the body of the building, the structure, down to the foundation, and the foundation is also tied properly. So these are some of the simple examples of what we have been doing. So Daryl.
Yes.
You have one more ball, or you think the wicket is okay now?
I'll bowl it a little later.
Okay.
Prime Minister.
But just to say too,
yes,
in respect to the botanical gardens, the intention there is to turn the gardens into a pedestrian park, and this is why we'll be constructing the bypass. So we'll be having the road from the University of Western is there and going across above the agricultural station, and then what's going to happen where the gate is currently on Bath Road, it will be brought in further into the botanical gardens, and we will allow the bypass to get out in that area and onto Bath Road and so forth. So we are finalizing the drawings for that, and once these drawings are finalized, we will move to the commencement of the botanical garden. So for example, and this is things we need to engage the schools and the parents. So we'll be building a bus stand for the school children, where the parents can drop them off and they can walk without any fear of vehicles knocking them in the botanical gardens and so forth, and there'll be enhanced safety. And of course, the redevelopment of the gardens is something that is on the cards, and Isaac has been in touch with a number of stakeholders on this. And the intention is to get some proposals from some private entity to assist with the replanting. First of all, the design of the gardens, taking into consideration all the historical associations with the gardens that has been articulated by Dr. Lennox Honeychurch, and also assisting us with the planting of the various trees and flowering plants. So that's also on the cards.
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what PM said there in regards to the gardens. So the real focus of the gardens, we have two aspects of the gardens. The aspect of creating value as a tourism product, and also the aspect of creating an excitement for family enjoyment.
Yes.
You know, so these are the two aspects of it. So we're trying to marry both of them. So we are looking at, I mean, we are not the experts in it, but our vision is Dominica has a lot of water, a river is passing in Roseau, maybe we should have a water feature.
Yes.
We are saying also that if the family is going to enjoy it, maybe we should be looking at, I remember years ago when we were small, it had something called merry-go-round. Why can't they have a little swing in a little section where children can go and play?
Adults too, you know.
Yeah, yes, adults too. And then now, you know, guys do their little football sweat in the gardens. Well, why can't we set it up properly and develop it in a way where it becomes a place where a large number of people go and congregate and enjoy, and also around the perimeter. Why don't we set up a nice jogging situation? So these are some of it, and we also spoke about, and I mean, I just thrown it in the air, what about a mini golf course, if it can take it? So these are some of the ideas we have, and I expect people to call and say, boy, what kind of mad thing you telling us there? So let's talk about it. But we're talking about some radical ideas, not from the normal way of thinking, to create a new product that Dominicans and tourists can enjoy. You know, so that's the kind of vision we have for the Botanic Gardens. And also, I just want people to just think of it. Can you imagine you come into the gardens and there's a nice section where, let's say, somebody got married, or you had first communion or confirmation, and you can go and take out pictures in a rose garden, because you have a large area just rose gardens.
That's what Daryl and Chad.
Yes. Boy, Daryl be bowling on, you know. Your own right, remember you are professional in the area. So so that's the kind of vision, you know.
Prime Minister, you're up housing. You're the Minister for Housing, and I know housing has been progressing around the country. I've seen lots of pictures of things going on. What is the situation with housing? We can't do it all at one time, but work is going on.
Well, before I answer your question, Daryl, I just wanted to say hi to my PD7 friends. I visited PD7 along with Lady Parrep, Dr. Daru, and of course Dr. McIntyre, and Honorable Isaac, and Honorable Ian Douglas, and who came along with us. It was a pretty lovely trip there. I mean, it's a wonderful breeze, and I want to thank Brother Jacko for his usual bruff. You know, every time I go to PD7, I would eat a bruff there, and yesterday was no different.
You didn't take yours first, right?
No, we sat down and we just chill and wait.
And then also my friend Mrs. Helena Antoine. You know, I've been going to PD7 for many years, and every time I go to PD7, I would always have coffee there, and she was so gracious again to entertain us with coffee there. But so it was a really wonderful engagement of all the people there, those who went back, you know, and we will be assisting with the agriculture, because, as we always said, people can continue agriculture there, but in terms of habitation, it is something else. But we visited the Bellevue Shopping Housing Development, and the project is well on its way again. As you know, we were interrupted by the hurricane, but we've started to paint. We started to tile the windows in some buildings, and it is expected that we will have the first 91 residential units ready for handing over on August 31. So, and then you'll have a second set of units ready in October and the final set in December of this year. So we hope in God's willing that we can settle the first 91 families to Belleville Chopin. And you know, you see these homes and they're very well constructed, very well designed. The floor space is adequate. The room sizes are great. You know, this is already wonderful. It is already a wonderful development, and I look forward to really seeing the residents in there and back into a country life, as many of them are missing the country life. And I want to thank them for their patience and of course the leadership of Dr. Darrow in that regard. So that's going very well. And we have also made provisions for some of the residents or families in Belleville Chopin who have a home challenge, that they'll be getting homes there as well. And also many families from Pishley. We have increased the number of residential units, so we'll be catering for an increased number of residents from Pishley. So quite a number of families will benefit. So you're talking about 400 plus families will benefit from this development when it is completed. And the other areas, of course, we have started the apartment units in La Plaine, in Delis. We have taken over the site in Cassie Bruce. We have been authorized to take over the site in Saint-Sauveur, so the contractors are moving in there. We have also taken the site in Grand Fond on the government site. We are finalizing the private land opposite the school and the community center there, so we're hoping to take ownership of this land very soon. Contracts have been signed for the St. Joseph. We have had a delay in launching it because the member for parliament was traveling, and we're hoping that in next week or so we will be able to go to St. Joseph to launch the first phase of the housing development there, some 33 units. We try to finalize some lands in Massac because there's a particular challenge with access to lands, and there's a need for housing and to relocate some families. So we'll be doing some 33 units there. And all of these units I'm talking about, Daryl and listeners, all of these contracts have been signed. Okay, contracts have been signed. And we're hoping to have this in Portsmouth. The contractors, the developers have taken possession of the site. There are 6 families who have been squatting there. They're cooperating. We've asked them to relocate. They want to relocate, and we'll be facilitating their relocation. So we'll be helping them with the rent for the period of time until the homes are constructed and completed in May of next year. So we'll be helping those families there, 6 families. The contractors, the developers have taken possession of the Cotton Hill site, where some 68 units will be constructed, and we are going to expand it further to include units, and I'm sure Rosalind Paul, my friend, is listening, and she'll be very excited about that. That we'll be doing some units in Bois Park to serve the joint communities of Paybush and Thibault. There's a residential development there. Lands were acquired and subdivided for residential purposes, so we'll be doing some units there. We'll also be doing some units, residential units in Vacas. We've acquired some land in Vacas as close to the entrance to go to the O2 Bay. So those of you in Vacas, listen to me. That's where we'll be doing it, and we're Mr. Hall Duba area there. This is where we're doing it. And also we'll be doing some units in Lower Penville, and in Caribbean Penville, in Upper Penville. So there'll be these 4 sites really in the constituency of Vacas that will be putting some units, and we're looking maybe in excess of 120 or so units across the board there to provide adequate housing for many of the families and people up in that constituency. We're hoping that we can finalize the process of acquisition of land in the Pong area to do the development there. In that area, we'll be building about 150 to 160 units, and we're looking at about 2 or 3 additional locations in the city where additional units will be put, so we will be spreading the residences in the city. So next week we'll get an update on where we are with the acquisitions, and to be able to assist those who are renting and to fetch a place to rent and to facilitate them in that regard. So once we take possession of this land, we are ready to roll, because we already have conceptual drawings for this area, and we are just waiting to sign the contract for this. But this site is a bit challenging as compared to others that were really a blank slate with nothing on it. So that's been done, and there are a couple of areas which I will leave to Isaac to speak to, that we're looking at, but maybe at some other time. And we'll have an opportunity to do a similar presentation in the Roseau Central constituency to share with the residents of the city the plans for this area. In addition to these things, Daryl, we also have 1,000 homes. The contract signed for this. We have assigned homes to every community in Dominica, from Marigot to Maho, from Maho to Soufriere, from Soufriere to the Carnago territory, from the Carnago territory to Woodfordale, and all over Caldibishi. We'll be building some of those homes there. We have assigned a particular number for each of those communities. For example, the Carnago territory has about 200, and we also will be doing the development for the residents of Cooley-Bistri. We have acquired, and in the process of finalizing the acquisition of 18 acres of land in Makushri, and that will be used to do the development there, to relocate a number of our families and friends and fellow citizens in Cooley-Bistri to that area, because I know many people in Cooley-Bistri, they love where they are. It's a nice place, it's cool. But with Erica and Maria, I know many of them have told me that they really want to get out, and we will be facilitating their relocation. And once we finalize the concept, it is our intention in the Ministry of Housing, the government, to go to Cooley-Bistri and to engage the public there, to share with them the plans, get the feedback, let us see what changes they want to make and suggestions that they have and ideas that they have, and then we can proceed and to incorporate some of the recommendations and observations and finalize the designs. We are about 80% complete with that conceptual drawing, because we had to start from scratch. We had to acquire the lands, we had to survey it, we had to subdivide it, so there's a lot of work in putting this place, and I really want to commend the efforts of Marcus Lestrade, who is the Commissioner of Lands and the Chief Surveyor. I mean, this guy is really pushing, with limited staff, limited resources. He's not complaining. I mean, day in, day out, weekends as weekdays, he's really out there pushing the survey department, and I really appreciate, because we require the survey department to go to every plot of land we intend to build a home on, and they have to respond, and with so many housing developments taking place, they have to respond.
Yes.
So we have 1,000 homes. In addition to that, we have also signed contracts, and work have started in Grand Bay for the retrofitting and reconstruction of the homes that were affected by Maria, and likewise the residents of Jubic. In Collio, in Platmapay, there's a slowdown because we have to break down some of the foundations that were built prior to the hurricane to start those new structures, but contracts have been signed, contractors have received their advances. We're doing the same thing in Saint-Sauveur, the same thing in Lily Valley with regards to retrofitting those buildings, and very soon we will see foundation work started on the 12 apartment units in Lily Valley, and of course there'll be additional work coming in. We'll be putting an apartment structure, some homes in Cochrane. Government has some lands in the vicinity of the playing field, but limited lands, and therefore we have to make the best use of those lands. So in the next several weeks, and of course in Portsmouth, likewise, we have started the reconstruction of homes in Portsmouth. In the Carnago territory, the same. So we are really pushing, really pressing. I think in large measure we are hitting way above our belt in that respect, because I mean the number of contracts that we have signed, and people have to appreciate these things. All of these interventions, except for the one in Roseau and Portsmouth, were all conceptualized after the hurricane. So we're able to research where we could get land from, survey those lands, check to see if it's suitable, do soil tests in those areas, do conceptual drawings, review those conceptual drawings, do the drawings and so the final drawings, do the structural drawings, do the quantities, negotiate contracts, sign contracts, and work start in less than 6 months. I mean, this is extraordinary.
Yeah.
And I think people have to appreciate those things. Rome was not built in a day, but we've certainly started the process, and we're doing the best that we humanly can do in the circumstance with limited capacity, limited resources. So we pressing on. But the intention there, Daryl, as you will recognize, every village in Dominica, every community in Dominica will be touched.
Yes.
By the housing revolution. And that's the plan we have in place, because we need to provide better and more resilient homes to as many families as possible who need it. And on top of that, I'm not sure you had a question. You want to ask a question?
No,
now?
go ahead. Go ahead.
On top of that, the home repair program.
Yes.
I mean, this is unprecedented. And sometimes I don't like talking about this because I'm the leader of the government, But it must be said, this is unprecedented in the manner in which this government, this Labour Party government, has responded to the cry and to the need of our people. I mean, we mobilize resources, financial resources. We mobilize materials. We purchase material from 2x4, 2x6, 3x6, T111, nails, screws. You see what I'm saying? Steel. I mean, we mobilize material, zinc. And in addition to that, we also mobilize labor. We're not only using all the labor we can get in Dominica, all the contractors we can get in Dominica. We have also contracted our brothers and sisters from the region.
Yes.
With government contracts to help cover as many homes as possible for us in Dominica. And on top of that, we've brought in 85 of our Cuban comrades to assist us, engineers, electricians, and they're now working on the state college. And the idea is, as they make headway in the state college, we'll be redeploying them to communities. So, for example, I believe today they went to Good Hope to look at the situation there, because I visited Good Hope and there were challenges there, and so we put a system in place to help the residents of Good Hope, and of course Pidi Sufi and Sons of and Cassibu. So I'm hoping to send a team at the earliest opportunity. I'm trying to squeeze next week to see if I can send a team of 10 people there to really help in covering homes there as quickly as possible and so on. So all of this the government has done to help our citizens. And to facilitate these things, we have deployed the resources to the village councils. I mean, across the board, the village councils across the board. We've engaged them to assist us with implementing this thing. So you can imagine the extent of that operation.
Yes.
I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of homes we have approved, and we'll be providing support to. The importation of the material, the clearing of the material on the port, the transportation of the material, and we are transporting the material to the communities. You understand? I mean, storage and management of this, keeping this. I mean, it is a massive, massive undertaking, and we in the Ministry of Housing are doing all we can to ensure that we can meet the needs of our people, to the best of our abilities. And it will be very sad to know that anybody who is living and dead in Dominica would say otherwise.
Yeah.
That is government. I mean, for you not to recognize the efforts of this government in this and other regards would be rather unfortunate and really sad. I mean, we have really pushed in, and we're not slipping. Not because we have covered some homes, we cannot say, okay, well, let us relax and so forth. We are pushing, we are pressing, and the more we push, is the more I'm pushing everybody. I mean, tomorrow, for example, we'll be deploying galvanized and zinc, to almost every community in Dominica. Let's deploy it. Let's get it out to the people. Let's help them. Let's ensure we help them, and let's do it with no discrimination. Yes, and anybody who needs help and genuinely needs help, let's assist them. So I want people to reach out to the communities, reach out to the village council, reach out to the PAL reps, and reach out to myself if you wish. If you have any challenges and so forth, because in these things you'll always have people who will have challenges and specific challenges, and it's a fluid exercise, and but we need to work together to resolve it. Criticizing or being negative is not going to help. We have to be positive, because with positive sense and positive attitude, it is easier for us to work together. And in this circumstance, especially, we need to work together, but even more so in this circumstance where we're trying to get our lives back into a state of normalcy. But let me say to the citizens of Dominica that we're committed to helping you. We will not be able to help everybody at the same time, but the more people will help, is the closer your name is to the top, and that's how we have to look at it. And those other persons or other entities in the community that can help, let us help. Let us not fold our arms and criticize, because criticizing in a negative way is not going to help. Let's put our hand, get some hammers and knock some nails in and some screws and let's help everybody. But we're very pleased, and I have been to many villages in Dominica. We have seen the quality of work, and by and large, in large measure, you'll always have one or two people who may be satisfied with the quality of work, but the vast majority of people are very appreciative of what has been done to their homes in terms of the roof, and they're feeling much more comfortable in their homes. And I want to thank all of the contractors who have availed themselves in the villages, who've been a fantastic job. Even my own constituency, the contractors there have been exceptional. People like Michael, who's been coordinating on my behalf on a daily basis. Greg Francois, who's been exceptional. He's an officer in the Ministry of Housing. You really have some good guys around the country, and in many parts of the country, you have similar situations. People working together to get things done, and we are at the service of the people, and we just have to continue to work together and help each other get out of our situation.
You have village councils in your community, Tebow, Quakers, and Penville in your constituency.
No, that hasn't happened. That hasn't happened. If it happens, they'll have it to me.
Yes.
And
you have not advised any one of them to write to the Minister of Housing to explain certain things.
No. I mean, in these things, we have to set aside the politics, and look at helping people. We must not always see something from a partisan lens. People need help. Let's help people. And if you are unable to help, or you're unwilling to help, then step aside and let those who are serious about working with people and helping people continue on the path, because you really just being an obstructionist. If you're not prepared to help. If you're just going to criticize and create problem, then you're really not. You really should not be in the area. You should just step aside, watch your home, watch your TV, cook your food and eat your food, and don't do bother with people. Eat a broth or something,
Eat popcorn.
But relax yourself, take your pictures and so on, and relax. But let us work. Yes. Let people who see the work in.
Yes.
Let us continue to work and so on.
All right. Prime Minister, there are a number of projects going on around the country. I believe work has restarted on the West Coast Road. There are some small projects like People's Park and other things going on. What are some of the major projects we can see going forward in the 2018-2019 financial year?
Well, I'm hoping that you'll have posed a question to Dr. McIntyre when you see him. but the fact that he's not here tonight, I will attempt to respond to your question. A number of things. I mean, the West Coast Road has started. You recognize that. We have roads in the valleys being done. Contracts have been signed. You live in the Road South constituency. You see work being done on the Castle Comfort Eggleston Girardel Road,
And we're very
and
thankful
also
for that.
the Eggleston Girardel Road. The contracts have been signed for those. Contractors have been mobilized. And I know the people are very, very elated and very relieved, because I mean they were really having a tough time with these roads. I mean it is rough. It's terrible. So you have that. We also will be we do some work on the Sultan Road, the one of Sultan Road, and also we're doing the complete resurfacing from the junction there at the foot of Sultan to go all the way back to the roundabout in Pokase. So that will be completely resurfaced with asphalt. We have been in touch with the contractor on the Boadab sections have been done. He told us that he started to prepare the area to surface it, so the people from Rivière Civic, Montjoie, and La Plaine and Dalis who really having a tough time driving on these rocky roads. I'm hoping that in the next couple of weeks or so, then you will have those sections resurfaced completely. The Layu roads, Layu retaining wall on the road there where the road collapsed. There's a small challenge that we're seeking to address, that is the issue of land ownership. So you will see a lot of piles along the road. The contract had been signed, the contractor had started, but that has been delayed because of the land issue, which we're hoping to address in the next week or so. Going forward, we will certainly commence and construct the bridge between Bath Estate and Emsal. The designs have been completed, and I spoke to the minister about this, so we have a strategy on how to go about approaching this. You will see additional works, of course, the city critically. The phase which involves the reconstruction of the road surface, reconstruction of drainage and sidewalks, and putting the underground docks and so the lines on the ground. So these things will be done, and and the list goes on and on. And of course, Dr. Markindale can come in sometime to give you more details of this. But the number of very critical things that will be done. We will continue the Rosa River walls to enhance the safety of the city and mitigate against flooding. So the number of critical things you'll be seeing, Daryl. The number of roads in Goodwill and Emsal, Santa Roma.
Yes.
There's a lot of streets in Goodwill area that will be reconstructed. So you name the area, and we can tell you that there's a solution to the problem there.
Yes, definitely, indeed. It is already 15 minutes moving down past the hour of 9 o'clock. You're tuned into Focus on Government and Development here on DBS Radio and Kyrie FM. And our guests tonight are the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Housing, Investment and Lands, and the Parliamentary Representative for the Vikas constituency, Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit. And joining him is the Minister for the Environment, Climate Resilience, Disaster Management, and of course Urban Renewal, the Parliamentary Representative for the Roseau Central constituency, the Honorable Joseph Isaac. Parliament meets on Monday, June 25, 2018, and there are a number of issues to be debated. But I want to ask Minister Joseph Isaac, have you read the bill for an act to amend for an act to introduce anti-terrorism legislation in Dominica?
I've given it a first reading. I usually read them.
Thorough, in-depth, or just glance over?
Just glance over. Tonight another thorough, in-depth one, and then tomorrow another one again. And then I'm prepared. And then I discuss with other people, experts, people who I think would have a better understanding in terms of the technical aspect of the law. Like in particular, that law, you'd want to talk to people in national security and people of that sort.
Yes. What are your thoughts on on the first reading of the bill so far?
I think it is in line with what we'd want to support regionally and nationally. I mean, terrorism or a bill that deals with anti-terrorism is directly in line with how the new world is moving. And also when you deal with travel and all those things, then obviously all countries would be concerned about it. So I think Parliament and our cabinet will obviously support it. It's not just a national bill, it's a regional bill, obviously, and it has some international component or support or backing, you know. So, I mean, to me, it's something that without reservation you'd want to support. And there'll be one, two little concerns in between, but all in all, overall, that's a bill you'd want to support.
Now, there has been a lot of statements this week in relation to this bill. As a matter of fact, there have been statements where people wanted to squash this bill. I want to ask you a direct. Sat with the opposition. Did you all ever go over legislation presented to you all to prepare some sort of front to look at the good and bad of legislation?
Yeah, in some instances that would happen. Again, sometimes it depends on level of interest. If sometimes when you're on a team, people may not be interested in, let's say, a particular piece of legislation. So in that vein, what might happen is you might have one or two people focusing on that particular legislation. When, for example, this one, the Anti-terrorism Act, is one where on both sides, everybody would be interested in that matter. So I would expect on both sides that people would want to ask each other a question, because you would need each individual parliamentarian or member of parliament, that is, whether senator or elected MP, you would have to go read the act and then decide if, one, they are going to speak on the act. So if you're going to speak on the act, you must be bouncing ideas and discussing with your colleagues. For example, so far I've asked the Attorney General what is his take. You understand? I won't discuss what his take is, but I would ask, because he's a legal mind, you want to know what is his angle, because you read it as ask. So I don't know in regards to the opposition in that particular bill what happened. I heard on the radio where the leader of opposition commented on the bill and take a first nice swipe at it, criticizing and not supporting. Then he had to go back and apologize and retract. To me, that was very unfortunate. And I'm saying it is unfortunate because not just in the context of being a parliamentarian. You see, when you become the leader of other parliamentarians, so when you become, let's say, the prime minister or the leader of opposition, you're in a completely different context. You cannot just go and just talk and then have to retract. You understand?
Yes.
It would be better if you said, well, you have a different angle. But you cannot now retract, meaning that, and the opposition leader is actually saying that he did not read certain aspects of the bill. And the question is, even a simple thing, I mean, let me just tell you something. Today, I came to work at minutes to 8, sat down at my desk, went through what was on my desk. Then I had a meeting at 9 o'clock with the Honorable Robbie Tong. We discussed issues of projects in Roseau. We discussed other matters in regards to the development of Roseau, which, by the way, is a good thing. Roseau Central actually have 2 people in cabinet. So that's why you see a lot of projects being implemented. We'll get a chance to talk about them later. So where, for example, Robbie Tong deserves kudos, I'll give him his big up. And again, nothing is wrong with that, because every man you need all hands on deck to develop your country. So this thing that if, for example, Robbie Tong does well, that people figure I shouldn't say. I need to say he did well in certain areas and big him up. So I just going through the process. So here it is, we met 9 o'clock, we had a fast meeting, discussed certain things. We had 2-3 other Roseau Central people there to discuss projects in Roseau. Then I had another meeting at 10 o'clock where we had some handing over ceremony. And then after that I had another meeting, and the PM spoke about it, where we went to gardens on site to discuss the road projects in Botanic Gardens. Then after that we went to the consultation, like the budget consultation. And now we're on the radio. So you can see a full day. So I'm just giving you a snapshot of a simple minister. Can you imagine you are opposition leader and you get a little piece of legislation to read, you are actually saying you didn't read certain parts. So if we give you a ministry to run, or we give you a country to run, so you're going to say, well, I'm sorry, citizens, I really didn't read that part. And then now the country is going down the drain because you did not read a certain part, and you're apologizing while the country going down. I see that as irresponsible, lack of discipline, and I would end that statement by saying you have to wheel and come again. Because you are not just a parliamentarian, you are the leader of other parliamentarians. So when you make a mistake, collectively they make the mistake with you. They have to take the blame. They cannot disassociate themselves. So can you imagine if I were on the other side, how I'd be feeling? That my leader would be saying he made it, well, he made a mistake. Any man can make a mistake. But you made a mistake because you saying that you did not read the entire bill. And mark you, the bill is not a bill of 300 pages in. Simple bill. Just read the thing. And if you don't understand, you call 1, 2 friends, some maybe in the legal fraternity, some in, let's say, in national security, and we have people like Mr. George on his team. So how could you allow that to happen to you? And then now want to say you want to be able to lead. If I were on the opposition side, I'd be very disappointed. Like on that side where I am there now, I'm not too disappointed because not the Prime Minister did that. The Prime Minister is my leader. So that is why when you asked me the first question earlier, yes, are you how I feel, am I happy, boss? Well, some people say they never see me happy like that, my brother. It's not me that say it, my brother. You understand?
Yes.
So I just want to, and that is what I want to say, but I'm saying it, and I'm saying it carefully. Mm-hmm. I'm really not trying to hurt. I'm just trying to be objective, my brother.
The issue of the anti-terrorism bill. I said last night on Kyrie FM, there's nothing in this bill for any citizen in Dominica to be perturbed about, to be worried about. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, I believe it is a bill that Dominicans should celebrate, because it is a bill that will safeguard and seek to protect our citizens. And even that somebody were to engage themselves in a terrorist act against our citizens, whether here or overseas, then our laws will be in place to adequately deal with these people. Mm-hmm. And the point I made last night on the radio program was that this is really a fulfillment of a series of conventions, international conventions, dating way back from 1963, long before even we became an associated statehood, an associated state, and long before we gained our independence. And the convention of up to 1992. There were conventions in 1975, in 1970, in 1971, in 1973, in 1999, in 1997, in 1998, in 1980. All of these years, there were various conventions. And these conventions, listeners, were always in response to a terrorist act, whether it was a hijacking of a plane, whether it was holding of hostages, whether it was kidnapping and holding hostage a protected person, such as a diplomat representing another country. And if you go back to your history, you will look at those years, and you will see at the point in time of those years, there were some international terrorist activities which took place, and the international community had to respond and to put international laws in place to respond to this, and to, in the event that if it were to happen, God forbid, then there will be a system in place to deal with the perpetrators. And we know what happened in September 11.
Yeah.
So there was a response to this. So so really, this bill is really putting into domestic law those international conventions. Because yes, while you have signed on to these international conventions, and even when the courts are dealing with matters, they look at the conventions that you have signed. So it's really putting into domestic law those conventions. And last night I made reference to the 1981 Act, the Anti-terrorism Act, and the definition then in 1981 of terrorism. You understand? And also the definition of terrorism in 2011, because there was an act in Parliament. We amended an act and we further defined the terrorism in that 2011 Act of Parliament. So it is not the first time that this government has brought in legislation to the Parliament in respect to terrorism and the financing of terrorism and the suppression of terrorism. So this bill there is of a more comprehensive nature, dealing with additional issues. But there's nothing in that bill. I mean, I read the bill over and over again, trying to see what some people in the public are saying, whether they have some merit and whether we can amend certain things. There's nothing in there. As a matter of fact, one of the issues we had, and the Attorney General and myself discussed it on Tuesday, was the life sentence. There is a section that deals with life sentence. But when I went to the 1981 Act, it spoke to life sentence then.
Yes.
And I say, well, because of the serious nature of a terrorist act. You see what I'm saying? So it may appear to be draconian, but a terrorist act is heinous.
Yes.
And has to, the punishment must be reflective of the act itself.
Yeah.
So there's nothing in this bill, to be honest with you. Because I listen to the public. People criticize, I listen to them to see what points they have, because it is not because somebody opposes you don't have to listen to them to see what they're saying, because they may be making some sense that you can take and you can bring on board. So I do listen to the criticisms of the public. But in that instance, I don't agree with them. The only where I think there could be some agreement with them is on the issue of, okay, well, can we get more time to read it ourselves, and to analyze it ourselves? I understand that. I mean, there's some merit in that, and it is a matter which the cabinet will discuss tomorrow and make a determination on, insofar as consultation and giving people opportunity to read it further. But insofar as the contents of the bill, insofar as the contents of the bill, there is nothing in there for anybody to be worried about. And this is harmonized legislation. There are countries in the region that have implemented the act. It is part of the domestic law. You see what I'm saying? And we are doing this. There's an urgency to do it. There's a need to do it. We got technical support from friendly governments who have assisted with the drafting of it, who was provided the funding for the drafting of the legislation, and we're grateful for that. And there really should be unanimous support of this in the Parliament. You understand? But it's unfortunate that sometimes people take their views to oppose. I mean, anything that comes in, let's oppose it, and we'll see how things go.
Even if you're not read it.
Even if you're not read it, you as a leader, I mean, what Mr. Linton should have said, well, look, based on what I'm hearing from the public, there seems to be a concern. But I will have an opportunity to read it myself, and I'll be in a better position to give an opinion in the matter.
Yeah.
That's how intelligent people speak. Responsible people speak. That's how leaders speak. You don't go and advise yourself on what the public is saying, because it's on the radio program and you figure whatever is said on the radio program is true. You see what I'm saying? You have an opportunity because you also have to provide guidance to the general public. And you must make reference to the sections and the clauses of the bill. And I have read so and so, and this is what I have read, and this is my interpretation. But that's not the case, you know. And I said, I know somebody called him overseas, and they instructed him. Because you see, even when he's trying to defend it, he's going around it and so forth. But I know for a fact. I'm a prime minister. I know things that happens and so on that most people may not know.
Yes.
But I know for a fact that he received a call, and the person told him that, look, stop it. So stop it. This, you will seeking to endanger the lives of people by this rhetoric, and you need to go to the public and indicate to the public that you're wrong. You know, I mean, you know.
But Prime Minister, you were a teacher, and I think in some aspects you still are a teacher. And one of the things I think every teacher would tell a student is read carefully before making any statement or before answering any question. What advice would you give the leader of the opposition so that this doesn't happen to him in the future? Because this has happened on several occasions.
Let us move to the subject matter. That one is too difficult for me. That one is too difficult. I have to go back and to read my my special education text and to refresh my mind on the strategies that we employed in teaching people with learning disabilities and so on. So I have to go and study my books.
Well, if we're moving on, Mr. Isaac, back to you.
Yes.
Roseau Central.
Yeah.
A number of plans in place. I know the Prime Minister said last night that they're putting things in the budget in order to get certain projects going. In the Roseau reinstatement project, Roseau enhancement project, that is going to go on. But there are a number of projects going on. We see projects on the Bayfront, People's Park, Botanic Gardens, and all over Roseau. What are some of the things going on in the capital city at this time?
Well, as you indicated, Roseau, we really need to zoom into Roseau and see it almost like a development plan for the Roseau city. For example, clearly we spoke about the housing project. So we said that already we have identified Pong as one of the areas in which we're going to do the housing program. We have two other areas in Roseau which we will do housing programs in. That's what is happening so far in terms of planning. In terms of actual execution, so far, since I come on board, we have already given 30-something, about 37, so they could improve and cover their roofs, retrofit, you know, so that's what has happened. Also, we have approved through the Prime Minister, Minister of Housing, several, but I'm not going to give the numbers yet. I'm waiting for when it's the 90 days since I've taken public office in regards to
You're
being a
70
minister.
days today.
About 70.
You're 70 days today, I can tell you that. I checked.
From April 13th?
12, from April 12
Okay,
to
nice,
now,
nice,
70 days
nice.
today.
So on 90 days, I'll give a comprehensive report. So I'm just giving you some ideas. So also, within the housing itself, over 1-point-something million have been approved for housing for Roseau in terms of direct housing assistance, whether it's through materials, and I'm not even adding in regards to the 37 who have already received materials from the Windsor Park Stadium that were allocated to the Roseau Central constituency. We will also, part of that would include direct materials and also building material and labor for some houses. We have already started covering roofs. So you have three contractors, 2 from Dominica, 1 from St. Lucia, actually started implementing the roofing programs in Roseau. So that is in terms of housing. So housing, look at housing in 2 ways. One, the development plan, which includes the apartments, and the second part is the issue of retrofitting and improving existing houses. Also, we have been looking at, and for a long time now, it has been articulated, but we're looking again at the Roseau market. Roseau market is the fresh fruit market. Looking at a development program there to ensure that the people who are selling fresh produce are housed under a sheltered area. So we are looking at that as a major project there. The Prime Minister mentioned the issue of the Roseau Road Reinstatement project, which includes the river walls. It includes running the electrical utility lines underground and focusing on the development of 3 major veins of roads in Roseau. You'd see work has been done, and I approve the second phase of the People's Park. Before that, the first phase was done under the Honorable Robert Tong. And also, you have on the bayfront, you see some significant renovation is happening on the sidewalk there on the bayfront. And behind of Jupini building, you'd see also
John's Lane.
John's Lane, where I signed a second project there. But the phase 1 was done again under Robbie Tong. So these are ongoing projects which I am just highlighting. Remember the famous basketball court, that will be part also of the Bathroot basketball court, that will be part of the garden development project itself. And remember, the gardens development project will be a massive project, amounting to between $1 to $2 million. So it would involve the actual development, as I mentioned earlier, of the botanic gardens, include the basketball court, including also the urban path aspect of the gardens. Also, there is a project and across by the DBS radio there, you have this long time building there. We have some resources there to do. We call it the Disaster Resource Center. So we'll be implementing that also in Roseau. So that there is another one. Let me see. So in a nutshell, these are some of the major projects for Roseau. Improvement also of sidewalks in Roseau.
Yes.
That would be another initiative. So I think you'll see a major transformation of Roseau in a lot of different aspects. We have spoken in the past, and we are still looking at it in regards to parking. And again, when I came in, again, you'll see through discussion with the Prime Minister, you'll see we did some significant work in the cleanup of empty lots, vacant lots. We didn't just do a surface cleaning. You see, real in-depth, thorough cleaning of those lots, and we moved some derelict vehicles. So we are now in discussion, and I just want to just talk on some policy ideas and initiatives where we are looking to have solid waste garbage disposal, more a management organization, efficiency, and to outsource some of the garbage collection within the private sector. You'll see, for example, when we get some new trucks, and you'll see that we are really trying our best to keep Roseau clean. We'll be making some radical decisions on enforcement. So I just want to flag the public. I don't want us to be concerned about the PAL rep being rough on me. So I just want to flag, you'll see that the technical people will be doing their work, but then you'll see very soon I'll be coming and support them in regards to enforcement of cleanliness in Roseau. So we'll have litter wardens, and we trying to look at the issue of parking. So the litter wardens will play a double role, where they might be also parking wardens too. But I want people to understand, I don't want the person or anybody to become the first one to pay a $5,000 fine for littering. We're going to enforce that. And part of the job of being the parliamentary representative and also the Minister of Urban Renewal, I want to flag that now. I already give, I would say, instructions, because I didn't mix matters with it. I give instructions that the solid waste department should over the place, the replacement bins. We have done that. So replacement bins in place, vacant lots are cleaned. We also, I ask again for advertisement to be done So people with vacant lots can start engaging the government and start talking to the city council and central government. So what are we doing? We're focusing on the issue of advocacy and talk. So that's what we are doing now. Maybe in the next 2 months so, we're going to start enforcement, where we'll engage the police, litter wardens, and people can be charged for litter in the city. Because remember what we said, we want to create the first climate resilient green city in the Caribbean. So there'll be no need for any enforcement or charging if people are compliant. But we're going to ensure that people are compliant.
You could also speak to the contract we signed for the galvanizing.
Oh yes. Also, we are in final phase of bringing down a company, engaging a company.
The contract has been signed.
Yes, signed.
Approved.
Approved. It has been approved so far. So a foreign company is going to come. We're all the galvanizers, and I just want people to bear with us because we are not God. We don't know what can happen. So we hope and God forbid any major storm or anything would happen before they come. But they are going to come in very soon to collect all the galvanized, shred it, compact some of the metals, and to export it out. So you'll see that happening very soon. It's very expensive. So, and that is what I'm saying. If it's so expensive and we're spending so much money on cleaning, we cannot come back and dirty up the place. We have to take these things very, very serious. So I don't see, I'm saying that because remember we are the representative of the people. So I don't want to lose a vote because I'm doing the right thing and the best thing for Dominica and for Roseau. So I'm telling people, okay, we are telling you, you have around, let's say, 2 months to put yourself straight. After that, we're going to enforce, we're going to ensure that it is done and people have to comply.
Yeah, all the derelict vehicles across the country,
yes,
will be flagged.
Yeah.
Every single derelict vehicle. The solid waste should be identifying locations where you can dispose of them, and failure to do so, we will remove it.
Yes.
So, and we're engaging the firm that's looking at taking all of this out of the country completely. So it's going to be a comprehensive stuff, and as the minister indicated, the intention there is to outsource the collection of garbage in Dominica, and let solid waste become more of an oversight and management entity and an enforcement entity, where garbage disposal is concerned and keeping our country clean. And so what we are looking at, and of course we'll articulate and express this vision during the budget debate, is to provide solid waste with some resources, because in the budget there's an increased subvention to them, but to empower them. So for example, we would say give a contract to the Roseau City Council for the municipality of Roseau, but the Roseau City Council may not have the means of acquiring those trucks.
Yeah.
So we would give them a loan to acquire those trucks and deduct from their fees paid to them by solid waste on a monthly basis the loan amount.
Yeah.
And that will be placed in an account for solid waste. So you have money now to pay for the collection of garbage,
yes,
and so forth. So it is going to be a very brilliant
yes,
structure,
yeah,
where we can empower and also empower other citizens in acquiring the appropriate trucks to assist with collection of garbage nationally. And so it's going to be, yes, advocacy as the minister indicated, education as indicated, giving solid waste a new mandate or specific or tailored mandate, giving people time to fix their business,
yeah,
and enforcement is going to be key.
Yeah.
Enforcement is going to be key, because we have, as a country, as an island state, as a country that promotes ecotourism, we have to ensure that our country remains pristine and clean. Because I keep telling people, if there's rubbish on the side of the road, we're the ones who put it there.
Yeah.
If the city is dirty, we're the ones who dirty it. These things don't come from the sky. There's no plane passing every night and dropping things in Dominica.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
we're the ones doing it. So if we want to see our country clean, if we want to see our city clean, then keep it clean.
Exactly.
And the problem solved.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So we have to continue the advocacy and to ensure that people appreciate the need for us to keep the country clean. And those who do not hear as our parents say, will feel. And I'm telling you, we're not going to compromise on that.
And PM and Daryl, what we don't want to hear, we don't hear, hey, last, you see, we already flagging the matter up front. You understand? So Daryl, in regards to the general strategy for Roseau and projects, these are some of those projects there that are already on the front burner.
All right. It is already some 13 minutes moving up to the hour of 10 o'clock. And we want to open up the lines a bit to allow some people to call in because the PM has had a very long day. He'll have a longer day tomorrow, and it doesn't stop on the weekend for him, where some of you may get a chance to relax on the weekend. I know the PM, in fact, heading to the budget, it's even more busy than it is for him normally. He has a very busy week all the time. So we're going to try to get him out of here at a reasonable time. I know we'll go a few minutes past 10 o'clock, but we're going to do that. But we're going to open up the lines, and we already have a caller on the line, and that caller is the parliamentary representative for the Petit Savan constituency, the Honorable Dr. Kenneth Daru. Honorable Dr. Daru, good night.
Yes, good evening, Daru. Good evening, Honorable Prime Minister, of course, and my good friend, Joseph Isaac. Just 3 quick points, because I don't want to occupy the line too much. I know lots of people probably waited to interact with these two honorable gentlemen. But Sam, I just wanted to place on the record my really sincere gratitude for the visit to P7 yesterday. And I know Daryl spoke about long days, and we really had a long day yesterday also. I think the visit to the few folks who still visit at P7, of course, for various reasons. And you could see on the faces and by the body language and reaction that they were really happy to interact with you. You've given them a little hope and stuff. And while we have taken the decision to evacuate P7, we know that there's a few folks up there for various reasons, as I said. Really want to thank you for that visit. Number 2, I also wanted to commend my good friend Joseph Isaac. And I mean, he mentioned about being the happiest man in Dominica. And I mean, I want to always do that. I'm one of those always tell that to him. And to also commend him for taking up the mantle. And he has really hit the road running. Things I'm taking up his ministerial portfolio. And his portfolio, I know, is one of great. I mean, it carries a lot of weight because the issues of climate change, we know, is probably humankind's greatest challenge as we speak. And of course, in our quest to become the world's first climate resilient country, his portfolio is one of and Tim thirdly, just wanted to also reassure the 37 residents of this ultra modern community that we're building in Bellevue-Chopin. And I've said it before on numerous programs, including Daryl, that I think that the 37 residents among, if not the most fortunate people in Dominica right now as we speak, especially in light of Hurricane Maria. While a lot of communities still hang, the future still a bit uncertain, 37, the rent being paid, the investment allowance, and a community being built for them PM. And we had the opportunity, of course, to and resolute PM and very confident that on completion that it is going to be, I think, the envy, not just of Dominica, but maybe of the sub-region. So I want to ask my 37 folks to, as you did early in the program, thank them for their patience and understanding.
Thank you very much, Dr. Daru.
It was a really wonderful visit to P7 yesterday, and I look forward to going back there to further interact with them, and it was really refreshing, and of course our commitment to the entire constituency is uncompromising.
Yes, I just want to thank Dr. Daru for sentiment shared. When I was there yesterday, it brought back memories. I remember when we were kids, in grammar school, I slept at his home, you sleep up Kings Hill, we'd hang out, so it really brought back memories. Then we ate some broth up there, so that everything was just nice,
we took a picture at my friend's Mrs. Helena Antoine's home.
Yes.
And these idiots on social media from UWP post the picture and have the word saying that we're in Suriname. so Dr. Mark, Dr. Daru, Joseph Isaac, and myself,
all of you,
we're in Suriname drinking anyway, they say we're drinking some coffee in Suriname, man. C'est la vie do.
I don't know. You know, I don't know why they had that jealousy thing in them. You know, kind of jealousy. Yeah, but so I just wanted to tell the public also.
But tell me, you did you ever, I mean, you don't have to answer my question, but did you ever drink tea with Lennox?
If you're asking these questions, I'm ready to bowl, you know.
You see, that's above my pay grade, you know?
Because I wanted to ask if you brought the letter along with you.
Boy, that letter, boy, nah.
So what
I can't do him that no, man. Give him a little chance still, so he can bring it out, you know? Yeah. But honestly, I just wanted to just thank Dr.
But the fact is, you know, I mean, you know, we need, and this is why we try to embrace as many young people as possible, young professionals, to join the movement.
Yes.
To come on board, make your contribution, you know, and engage and be engaged.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact is, truth be told, this is the only party that really is articulating a vision, is trying to do something. We may not be doing it in a perfect manner or to the satisfaction of everybody, but people cannot fault us on trying and getting some things done. You know, and I really want to call on Dominicans to join us. Let's work together.
Yeah, I just want to
let us be united in effort, and you know, if there is unity for our efforts, I mean, we can really take this country to leaps and bounds and be the envy of many.
Yeah. I just want to sound the call also with PM. When I spoke about the issue of the nationalistic approach, what I was thinking at the time was, and let's just zoom into the housing program. I mean, we travel around, we travel in the Caribbean. Forget politics. Also, and when I say politics, partisan politics. Really and truly, can anybody say, I mean, there's always room for improvement, but can anybody say that is a wrong or bad move, my brother? Think of it. That to me is a true housing revolution, where poor people who had no means, and some of it is really not their fault. Sometimes it's family background, history, put you in a position where you don't have means, and the government is coming in there and helping you after a major disaster. Can you imagine in situation where people have big, nice houses, hard, I would say hard, and then the Hurricane Maria come, hit them hard. They were paying insurance all the years, and it just happened to stop a year ago. And then they have no resources to bounce back. And the government is stepping in to help. And you're a parliamentary representative, and you don't want to talk to the Minister of Finance. So the nationalistic approach was, put yourself in a position to help your country and your people. So if I were a voter, which I am, just on the basis of the housing program, I would support the Prime Minister. That is one. Okay, so I would give the housing program A+. Okay, let us look at the program that deals with the health issue. Can you not see? Remember, we have been complaining, or people complaining, whether remember I was on order the other side, and people complain, oh, the health system, this, the health system, that. Then you get in a new hospital. Then you get in another one where you're going to redevelop one in Portsmouth. You're going to do one in Marigot. Again, the question is, as a Dominican, do you think that is a bad move? Again, I would support. And if you listen to me in Parliament before, you'll see how I've been thinking. I've been thinking in a way where I'm saying, hey, if you have a project or an initiative that is good for Dominica, You must put Dominica before yourself and come on board and help. So tonight I'm calling on all Dominicans, especially those who supported the United Workers' Party before. If I were there, I were in, and I could see things that were wrong. Because remember, we have been complaining about people not implementing. But I know on the other side, we were not implementing things. So I got frustrated of the lack of implementation. And I say, you know what? Let's focus on the nationalistic approach where everybody come on board to make the country roll. So I'm calling on all the young professionals, all the farmers and the people, the struggling people, the teachers, the nurses, all them fishermen. People know me, you know. I've been all about Dominica. I'm a groundsman. I'm calling on you to join the movement. The worst thing that can happen to you, you know, is the movement is happening, the train is moving, but you are left down chasing the train. Come on board and let us move our country. At least when we get older, we can say, boy, you see that? I helped. And that is why when we did the tree planting thing, it was more a symbolic move at first. Trying to tell the young people, the first thing is your country. Plant a tree and you'll always remember you did it. But I see children, but I'm asking the adults to make some, and in that case I would say political decision. And you can see, I mean, if they could see me, my face is very serious now. It's a decision for the future of your children and your grandchildren. It cannot be you just want to be making vice decisions and then put the country in a situation where all of us are affected. And even after the situation where the gentleman didn't read a simple legislation, I'm now even more convinced of let's focus on a nationalistic approach to that development. Support the Prime Minister because he's he that is there. You don't have two Prime Ministers. He's there. He cares about people. Let's work with him. Let's run the program. Let's create records in the country. First climate resilient country here. Let's be the first country to plant, let's say, 1 million trees in 2 years. Let's be the first country to have a city where all its lines is run underground. I took it in the Caribbean at least. So let us take it serious. Finally, I just wanted to just pinpoint certain things there. I wanted us again to make people understand, Dominicans and even people overseas, how serious we are. We are right now in discussion about creating a new protected area in the north. That is by Indian River where we are the mangrove. We're in discussion. So the vision is our predecessors, people like Mike Douglas, people like Oliver LeBlanc, they set a base for us. So we just want to consolidate that base in regards to environmental protection. I'm asking also all young entrepreneurs right now, there's an opportunity for harvesting lumber in the forest. I'm asking you, I've already spoken to the director of forestry, I'm asking you to contact the director, join with chainsaw operators, and form a little company, a little group. So we can give you, let's say, about 5 acres, 3 acres to work to clear for us, and then we can engage high school children to come and help you plant trees and to redevelop the forest. We are in discussion with people overseas. For example, part of the trip that they're criticizing to Suriname. Right now, the forestry division is in discussion with their counterpart, the forestry people in Suriname, discussing how we can mobilize to bring down people in Suriname, that is foresters, to help Dominica. But I'm saying before all that happened, I'm asking our young entrepreneurs, there's a business opportunity there. If you have a little 5,000 you want to invest, you can invest in that. The government system can help join your investment, and to give you an opportunity to work with operators. You can join also in joint venture with chainsaw operators and take that opportunity so that you can get some local lumber and be able to sell it. And then now we are putting ourselves where we'll be poised to develop the furniture industry back again. So these are some of the opportunities when we went to Suriname. We haven't really spoken about it. But these are the opportunities. When we went to Suriname, we also spoke to the people, the Amerindians, where we're talking about cultural exchange. So these are some of the things we're talking about. A revolution also in culture that Libla started. And so, I mean, we can't say everything tonight, but I just wanted to touch on that. I didn't want to forget that area, Daryl. I wanted to touch on it.
We have a caller. Let's go back to the line. Caller, good night.
Prime Minister, good night.
Senior Counsel.
Minister, good night. This is Tony Astefania.
Good night, Senior Counsel.
Good night. Prime Minister, I must start off by telling you I've been listening to the Minister Joseph Isaac, for a few days now. And the man sounds like he was born a labor writer. I'm not sure what that diversion was all about. But anyway. Anyway, Pierre, a matter of considerable concern to me and to you, because I heard you last night and we spoke for a little while, is this question of the anti-terrorist bill. And you brought to the attention of the people last night the Prevention of Tourism Temporary Provisions Act number 10 of 1981, which had a definition of terrorism very similar, if not the same, in substance to the 2018 bill that you're going to take to the Parliament on the 24th or whatever date. There is, however, another piece of legislation. You see why, Miss Dominica? I'm in a jurisdiction now where lights and water go with as frequency as the breeze, and lights just went. So I'm talking to Dominica in complete darkness. Our lights have come back on now. Anyway, there's another piece of legislation, Prime Minister, that I wanted to bring the attention. I know you're aware of it from today, but the attention of the listeners, which is the Act 9 of 2011, which is the Suppression of the Financing of Terrorism Amendment Act, which amended Act number 3 of 2003. So when you said to us a couple legislation, some of us, including myself, said we weren't sure until we checked it. So in 2011, the Labour Party government amended the 2003 Act, which dealt with suppression of the Financing of Terrorism Amendment Act of 2011. And Prime Minister, the definition of a terrorist act in 2011 is, except for the paragraphing and the formatting, identical to the definition of a terrorist offense or act in the bill of 2018. Now, here we have the leader of the opposition, Dr. Sam Christian, the leader of the Dominica Freedom Party, the General Secretary of the Public Service Union, questioning a particular section of an act has been anti-democratic, which has been in existence in Dominica in one form or the other in 1981 and in 2010. And it makes you wonder, it makes all of us wonder just how serious or competent these people are, or perhaps the way that I like it best, is just how dishonest and corruptly dishonest and fraudulent they are in their behavior. By seeking to create alarm that the government is doing something for the first time, quite apart from the fact that every Caribbean or CARICOM country has done it. We have done it since 1981, 2003, and then the amendment in 2010. The other aspect I wanted to deal with, Prime Minister, is this. Two short points, if you don't mind. But I think it's important that our listeners understand the number of times. Thank you. The number of times that the political leader of the United Workers' Party has taken the country for a ride. The United Nations Anti-terrorism Group, or whatever you want to call it, have published a paper on the interpretation and drafting of the anti-terrorist legislation. And it reads this, paragraph 18 reads this, Prime Minister, if I may. Since differing national definitions of offenses can create problems of dual criminality and other procedural issue, it is desirable to repeat the terminology using the conventions, meaning the international conventions, Prime Minister, which you identified individually and specifically last night. In national implementing laws, or to adopt the definition used in the conventions by reference. So Clause 18 of the United Nations Anti-Terrorism document is saying that when the parliaments of sovereign countries such as Dominica, or Barbados, or Antigua seek to create definitions of offenses in relation to terrorism, they must use the language and terminology in the international conventions used and ratified at the international law level for the purposes of implementing the laws. And paragraph 19 goes and says the Anti-Terrorism Act 2002 of Barbados defines an offense of terrorism as including any offense under 9 of the penal conventions and protocols examined in the present legislative guide. That is, all of the instruments examined in the present publication, with the exception of a few of them. And it defines the offense under the Act, which is acceptable in accordance with the language of the convention and international law. Offenses defined by reference to the conventions and terrorism is defined as, and it goes out, Prime Minister, they quote the Barbados legislation, which is in a near identical terms to the 2018 draft, which the government is going to take to the House on Monday. Now that is significant, because how on God's earth would people try without understanding that the government or the parliament is creating something new when all of the parliaments have used the same language? We have used the same language in previous years, 2010 and 2018. And the United Nations is asking those who ratify the treaty conventions to use the language of the conventions in order to have uniformity of the language. And I think it's important that the people understand the genesis of the language of this act. Prime Minister, there's one final issue I would like to deal with, if I may. May I go ahead? Hello?
Yes, sure. We're listening.
Thank you. Okay. There's a lag in the phone. I heard the audio of the leader of the opposition, and I heard it played again with Simeon Albert on the other radio station. And the leader of the opposition says that the offenses creates offenses simply on the basis of the individual or the collective acts are likely to cause the loss of human life damage to property, etc. And he went on to say repeatedly that creates the vague general language that dictators and like yourself and now Joseph Isaac and other members of your cabinet will use it to terrorize people who oppose them. But he dishonestly left out the important words, which I will go to repeat. For the purpose of advancing a political, ideological, or religious cause, does any act which causes, Prime Minister, or is likely to cause. Linton deliberately left out the words which causes, meaning caused as a matter of fact.
He's been deliberate in his misinformation.
Correct.
You know, and you listen to him, you don't have the bill before you. He is purporting to be reading from it precisely, but he's not. You know, just to seek to get his people to rile up and to create destruction in the country. For nothing, really.
For absolutely nothing. Because but then he says, Prime Minister, that he didn't read Section 2.2, but it's impossible. It is physically impossible to read Section 3.1 without seeing Section 2.2. And then having read Section 3.1, he deliberately left out the words which causes harm and focused only on is likely to cause, and said that was deliberately done by your cabinet and the Attorney General and the drafters in order to permit you to penalize those who want to engage in acts that are likely to cause harm, like trying to burn Rosewood down in February 2017.
You know, so Tony, the fact is, for the purposes of the listeners, Section 2.2 and Section 3.1 are on the same page.
Same page.
And it's a very short page because the booklet we go to Parliament with is really shorter than even an exercise book.
Yeah.
So you can't miss it, because while you're reading 3.1, your eyes will continuously fall on Section 2.2 because it's on the same page. You know, but the fact is, Tony, the only reason why this gentleman came and pretend to be apologizing, it is because some representative of a foreign government called him as a matter of fact and told him it's foolishness and you have a duty and a responsibility to go on your radio program tomorrow morning and to apologize and to set the record straight. That's the only reason. Otherwise, he would and you can still see in a subtle way his reluctance to really stop his foolishness, because he is still continuing it. And if you are really sincere about what you're doing, if a man is talking foolishness next to you, you should tell him stop talking foolishness. Yeah. You should correct him. But he is making no attempt to seek to educate properly his supporters and to dissuade them from engaging themselves in this foolish talk about protest action and destruction, and we're going to prevent this bill from being passed and so forth. He's feeding them. You know, and I'm saying to the people of Dominica that we have to be mindful of those dangerous practices. Because,
well, Prime Minister, you're correct, but then it begs the question: when someone like that is so completely and unadulteratedly dishonest, you have the Freedom Party jumping on board, you have Pastor Rodney jumping on board, you have Thomas Later jumping on board, you have Afi Marty and others threatening brimstone and fire to fall on the head of Roosevelt Skerrit, and nobody has taken the time to study the issues. None. So it tells us, but what sort of society or part of the society do we have when Pied Piper comes up with the most crassly dishonest interpretation of the law, and you have a bunch of people jumping the bandwagon without understanding what the issues are? And my final point would be, Prime Minister, I have no doubt that he has done the same in relation to the issue of electoral reform and the issue of bribery and cheating. But we leave that for another time, Prime Minister. Good night, and it was nice talking to you again.
But thank you very much, Tony. Thank you very much.
Mr. Isaac.
Yes, sir.
Trust me, brother. You sound like a born yesterday and a born again laborer.
Well, you see, you don't know everything, eh?
No, I don't. But welcome on board anyway.
You must ask them about Moso Payman, my father.
No problem.
He was like Wadi. He was like Wadi in the labor movement, but.
Take care. All the best.
All right. Take care, bro.
Yeah, just to thank you, Tony, very much for your usual eloquence and the manner in which you in a simple way you educate all of us on matters of law. Just want to remind the listeners, we have the Kempinski Hotel continue on track. We have the Anichi Resort, that is the Marriott in Portsmouth. That project is going on full steam. You're driving on the highway on the Ross Boulevard, and you can't see it, so a lot of people do not know that there's a lot of construction taking place there. It's a massive contract was issued by the developers there to some firm, and they're really pushing this project. I mean, I saw photographs of the project thus far, and I myself was a bit pleasantly surprised to see the extent of work that they've done. Jungle Bay, I'm hoping to visit there sometime early next month. I mean, well on track. I spoke to the developer a couple of days ago. As a matter of fact, I need to call him back. So there are a lot of things happening. Fortune Hotel is not only reinstating some of the rooms that were lost during the hurricane, the old fort, but they're building additional rooms to take the number up to 100 plus, and putting in new restaurants and putting in new conference facilities. Secret Bay has resumed. So there are a lot of positive things happening in the country. You see Carl Nassif and the Nassifs are rebuilding the facilities on there, the hardware store, and really trying to upgrade it. A lot of money has been spent there. You can see the kind of structure. There's a galvanized company from Trinidad, Varma, who is here to build a factory, to a galvanized plant in Dominica. There are a lot of local Dominicans who are taking advantage of the opportunities and have branched out in a number of new ventures. So things are coming on. DCP, the successor company, has resumed the production of soaps. They're exporting soaps to the region.
Sending out some chips.
There are a lot of things that are happening, and as the days and the weeks and the months and the years go by, we will get there. Because the fact is, our 2 days are better than our yesterdays, and that is a positive sign. So things are looking up, and we just have to continue doing what we have to do together to really make things better for all of us in Dominica. The Marigot Mexico Hospital is on track. We were in touch. The Mexican government was in touch with us earlier this week. They have transferred all of the funds to UNOPS, which is the United Nations Office for Projects Services, that they'll be handling the design, the management, and the construction of the hospital for us. It will be a hospital which the people of Marigot and the entire Marigot Health District will be very excited about. In terms of its designs and in terms of its functionality, people will be very excited about this. So we're now waiting on the revised drawings from UNOPS. Once we get that and we give them our feedback, it's a matter of finalizing that design and getting the implementation schedule. So we're ready. We have cleared the site, so we're ready to receive UNOPS and the government of Mexico. I want to thank the government of Mexico for its efforts for financing this Mexico Marigot Hospital. That will be built in Marigot for the entire health district. So there are a lot of things happening. At the international airport, we are well on track with that. We are proceeding with it. We now have to move to the next level of land acquisition and engaging the landowners one by one, and to speak to them about the sale of the lands and negotiate the price. And once we can overcome the issue of land acquisition, it is smooth sailing for where the international airport is concerned. That will be our biggest challenge. Once we can overcome that, then we're ready to roll in this airport to get it going and to build the airport. We have also signed an MOU on the ports. The intention there, based on advice, it is always our view, is to move the current port, the Woodbridge port, the containerized port, to Canefield. Okay, so we'll move it to Canefield, build that port, a modern port with all of the requisite technology, to improve efficiency, to improve accountability on the ports and safety and all of the necessary logistical issues on a modern port. So we'll be doing that. The firm was here this week, and they have advised us, based on the meeting we held with them yesterday, that they will be able to provide us with a conceptual drawing by the middle of July of this year. Once we receive this and we give our no objection to the conceptual drawing, we'll move towards the necessary studies and the finalization of the design. So once we build that new container port at Canefield, then we will build a new cruise village / ferry village on where the Woodbridge port is now. And as I said before, the whole idea is to have this port be a completely duty-free port, a duty-free zone, and even the possibility of putting a small shopping mall there where you can have groceries and local items, where the French can come in, the people from Martinique and Guadeloupe can come in to buy groceries in Dominica, duty-free prices, and go back to Guadeloupe, because this is a captive market of close to 1 million people there, and they do travel between the islands, and they do shop here when they come to Dominica. And if we can create a better facilitation for them, where they can buy the groceries, package it nicely, put it on the ferry, and they go home in 1 hour, they're home. These are the things that we need to look at. And one of the reasons why we are putting the cruise village or the ferry terminal with the cruise village, because we recognize that the cruise ship is a seasonal activity, and if we put the ferry terminal there, then you will have a weekly operation taking place, and you will have people passing through there and making better use of the facility. So this is the plan. As I said, we've signed an MOU for this. The firm was here this week. They told us very strongly that they'll give us some concepts by the middle of July. We'll engage the various stakeholders on advice. We also have to engage all the stakeholders here, so everybody has a feedback and contribution to make, and see how far we can incorporate some of the ideas and observations in the final drawings. So this is where we are with a number of exciting projects that will build greater resilience, because the port is important, the airport is important, and we believe, as we said always, that we always have to find a creative way of financing the airport, and there's been no stronger demonstration of seriousness and commitment about international airport than we see now, because people always tell you, put your money where your mouth is. You know what I'm saying? You put your money where your mouth is, and that's what this government is doing. We're not only talking about it, but we've been quietly doing what we need to do to ensure that we can build this airport for Dominica and for the future generations.
We go back to the telephone on the overseas line this time. Good night.
Good night, Darrell.
Good night.
Good night, how are you? Good night, PM, and good night, Honorable Isaac.
Yeah, good night, Donny. How are you?
Good night.
Doing good, thanks. Thank you. I have two questions, one for Honorable Isaac and one for PM. First one is for Honorable Isaac. You are now in a new position. You have a very important ministry and a wide portfolio. And your disposition, your utterances have quite inspiring and confident. And we are all confident that you're going to do well, and we are all rooting for you, because if you do well, we all do well. My question to you is, being now in this position, do you now have a greater appreciation of the tremendous work or the task it is, to govern this country, which is a very difficult country to govern? Do you have a great appreciation for what this government has done and for the leadership of Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit over the years? And PM, my question to you is, we know the CBI has been a vital source of revenue for our country, and this was accentuated further after Maria. And I think it's fair to say that that was our lifeline when all our revenue had came to a grinding halt. With the immediate priorities that you had to undertake, you and the government, and the immediate needs, and that took you all over the world, seeking help for Dominica, did the focus on the CBI or the attention and energy, the attention on raising CBI funds, did it get affected in any way? And can you tell us what is the state of the CBI currently? Is it still doing well? Thank you very much, and I'll listen. Okay.
Yes. Thank you, caller. Let me just, and thank you for the sentiment that you shared. I just want to just reiterate my commitment to Dominica, my commitment to the constituency of Roseau Central, and the pledge of support to the Honorable Prime Minister. Unwavering support. Caller, I'll put it in an analogy. Yes, my perspective is completely different. It is, maybe I should put it in the context of what I was going to tell you first. You are working for a company and you are, let's say, the manager of a department, but there are, let's say, 21 departments. So you see the things in the lens of the department you are in. If one day they promote you to become the CEO of the company, then you see it with a wider scope, because now you are now responsible for the 21 departments. So yes, things you were seeing before, for example, when I was in opposition, I saw that we had an implementation challenge. I still see it. But then I see the wider picture of why we have the implementation challenge and implementation challenges. Now, having seen the different sides or the different perspectives, I'm now in a position to even better contribute, because now I'm humbled because of the responsibility I have. Then I understand also the constraints we have, because when you are on opposition side, it is easy to say, do this, do that, without thinking of the actual hardcore solution, because you never know, you are never in the context of the financing. You might have the ideas, but you are not in the context of the financing. Now, let me zoom in on just practical things now. When I was speaking earlier, and I'm speaking not to the caller only, but to the public, I said that just on the housing program alone, you'd want to support the government. And then I said I would support the government. But then now, I'm saying that because I'm not zooming in on the actuality, But then when we start going through it again, and we say, okay, yes, we have housing, significant investment, unprecedented. Then we start talking, and I mentioned it earlier, the hospital. That again is significant investment. But I forget to mention the hotels. That's a transformation of the productive sector. So on that basis of if these are successfully implemented, which from all angles you can see they will be successfully implemented, that alone is another reason to vote the government and to ask Dominicans across the region to come back home. Because they are, the leader of the country say, hey, we are poised to develop an international airport. And not like before, this time we have money in the bank. But remember, when I was on the opposition side, we were saying, hey, we need an international airport. So while I was there, I was saying we need an international airport. Now I'm on the other side. I still think we need an international airport. But there is a man now who is the finance leader of the country. He's saying, hey, but look, I have the money there. So then what do? I say, well, yeah, well, I supporting it again. Then if that was not enough, we said that when Patrick John and them and Lee Bland them organized the seaport, them man lapsed because they had a good vision, but we never implement it over the years. And now somebody's saying, hey, you know, we have the vision, you know, you see the same seaport you have there, the Depot Harbor, we can convert it into a duty-free zone, which was my vision for Front Street and Back Street, Roseau. But now I can get it now down there by the harbor. So I can fight against my own self and my own vision. So I'm saying my vision is in sync. It's just that it might just be, let's say, 1 mile away from where I was thinking of it. So if now you are a citizen of Dominica and someone is coming to tell you we have hospital, we have housing, we have hotels, we have international airport, we have seaport that which would have modernized containerized system and a different section that have duty-free shopping, and to make you feel proud like some of our other OECS countries when we travel and we say, wow, boy, St. Lucia have mall. We're talking about, hey, we can have our own mall too. So at the time now, I was giving the PM pressure and saying, boss, why you want State House for? But then now when you start traveling as a minister of government, then you realize that it is an issue of image. So if you bring a man to your country, how do you treat him? Do you bring him in a carbon way? Or do you bring him in a nice setting so he can feel a level of hospitality that would make him go back to his country and say, hey, I'm willing to invest in that country. And when I was working for Colgate-Palmolive, I faced those things there, but in a smaller scale. When we were working at Colgate-Palmolive, the guys that were in the regional office in Barbados did not want to spend the weekend in Dominica because they thought that there's no activity, no nightlife, it was not exciting. So now, when you look at the bigger picture now, you see now all those investments going to create a proper nightlife for Dominica, create more jobs for Dominica. The same thing the opposition was talking about in terms of creating the productive sector jobs, that is being created. So if that is being created, then you have to ask yourself a question. Why change something that is already in motion and the train is moving? So you need to give the administration an opportunity to complete the vision. Then and then you can think of another option. But at this point in time, you have to say, let us complete that vision and that mission. And, well, I'm not even talking about the plans in terms of the politics. But in regards to the politics, I'm saying that all Dominicans overseas and based in Dominica should buy into the vision. And just like I did, I could see the vision from afar. Join me to join the Prime Minister first to achieve the vision, so at least we can say we're on board and we created that country. In other words, the modern Dominica. I see it from afar. I want people to join me, to join the Prime Minister, come on board, and let's achieve what we have to achieve for our country. That's the fundamental nationalistic approach I'm calling for. So, caller, thank you.
PM?
Yeah, You know, I don't think anybody could say it better. You know, um, the you know we always told our citizens that we needed to ensure as a country we protect the CBI program. That we can always raise questions about it, always seek clarifications about it, but never should we attempt to undermine it or to try to destroy it, because it is an important source of revenue, of non-tax revenue, for our country. And I can say to the caller that the CBI has played a pivotal role, a central role, in underwriting about 95% of our expenditure to date since the hurricane. All of the monies that we have spent on housing have come from the CBI. And you're talking about just on home repairs so far. You're talking about in terms of building materials and labor costs and actual cash. You're talking about over $100 million that have been appropriated to assist people in fixing their homes in Dominica. All of the housing developments that we sign, all the apartment structures that we sign in the east and in the north and the west, in the south, these funds will come from the CBI. The payment of public servants, funds came from, all of his funds came from the CBI, especially several months after the hurricane. All of the infrastructural works, the dredging of rivers, you name it, my friend, these funds, and they were very, very handy funds, because had we not have those resources, as a matter of fact, even after the hurricane, when the food supplies were coming in late from overseas in the volume which we needed it at the time, we had to buy our own food as a country, import food as a country, and we were able to use those funds very quickly to first procure the rest of the food that remained in the stores here in Dominica, and secondly started importing food from overseas. So and going into this budget, for example, the entire capital budget, save and except grants and some loans, the local component of the financing of the capital budget, the public sector investment program, those funds will come from the CBI. So while there is nothing wrong in raising questions about it and seeking clarification, but we must stand against people who deliberately and maliciously seek to undermine and destroy the opportunities of Dominica. And I can say to you as a Minister of Finance that if we were to take the CBI away from the scheme of things, especially in a post-Hurricane Maria situation, we would have had great difficulty in assisting our citizens to get their lives back into a state of normalcy. So it continues. We have to continue. It's a dynamic and fluid industry. There's a lot of competition from all over the world. This is why we have to continue being in the marketplace and marketing and promoting and engaging our stakeholders, all of them, the agents, the developers who have been very helpful and diligent and committed to us, and many of them have even increased their commitment since the hurricane, because they themselves would like to be part of the new Dominica, and the resilient Dominica. They want to be part of that process, and we really want to thank all of them for making Dominica the choice to invest, because without them we would have great difficulty in underwriting some of the experiences that we have to. Because while we have gotten commitments from regional international development partners, these funds are not coming in as quickly as we would want them to, because there are processes to follow, and while they will come, but they will take some time to come. And what do you do in the interim? You have the things that you have to do, and things that you must do, and you can't leave for tomorrow. So just imagine any one of you who has gotten your roof covered, whether it's building materials or labor component from the government, that CBA funds on top of your head. CBI funds. And all of the apartments we're building in Bellevue Chopin, in San Sauvé, in Cassie Bruce, in Daly's, in Portsmouth, in Cottage, in Lago, Cotton Hill, St. Joe, Massac, and of course soon to make my own constituency, the Roseau Valley, Grand Bay, you name it, the city of Roseau, you name it, it is a CBI funds. The roads to from Eggleston to Girodell, the roads from Castle Comfort to
Fortney.
From
Girodell.
Fortney to Girodell, and from Castle Comfort to Girodell, all this of CBI funds. All of the Bailey bridges you see us erecting there, this is CBI funds. The number of things that we're doing, and so what we're committed to it. We have to continue working hard. We have to continue being ahead of the game and ensuring that we can sustain the revenue, because I can tell you, my brother, we really need that source of revenue. We are near to the completion of the Charles Avenue Road.
Yes.
You could see this.
It's open.
It's open. And this is what we'll be bringing in to the rest of Goodwill and to the rest of Santa Roma. That's the kind of quality road we'll be bringing in, and to reconstruct a number of the roads across these urban communities. I know my friends in Wallace, they have a challenge there. They already complain about the state of the road, the main road to the village. I've been there. It's really bad. We had plans on starting a section of it before the hurricane, but of course plans had to change. But we're spending significant sums of money in the Roseau South constituency as we speak. We have contracts in excess of $7-8 million just on roads in the Roseau South constituency, just on roads. So we will see what we can do to ease the burden there. We'll try to do a section of it very soon, so at least I can alleviate your discomfort. But we're mindful of it, and again, sometimes too we have a challenge. There's some roads that we like to do, but you cannot get people to do it because people are on roofs, and you don't want to take somebody from a roof, because the roof is so important for us, to get people roofs covered. That sometimes we want to fix some roads, but the same people who are fixing the roofs are the people who we have to get to build the roads. And what do you do in a situation like that? So it's a challenge sometimes. Not that we will not have the money to do it, but we have to be mindful of the shortage of human resources that we have on island to do the kind of things that we like to do. But we're mindful of it, and we give you the assurance that we will come to you very soon.
Let's take one more phone call on the telephone. Good night. Hello?
Am I on here?
Yes, you are.
Okay, good evening to the panelists, the Honorable Prime Minister.
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Isaac. Good show, good program, sir.
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to ask the Prime Minister. I'm trying to ask the Prime Minister, the land that belongs to Silma Dupin in the Portsmouth area, can the government not take this land from Silma Dupin, whoever it belongs to, and develop this stretch of land from the former bank to all the way to the 1 mile area? Can this not develop?
That's it, caller?
Well, I mean, these are very good lands. I mean, these are private lands. I know in some aspects of the land there are some issues of squatters down in Portsmouth, especially where the call center is area there. But I don't like the government to impose itself on people, so we are very careful with how we go about compulsory acquiring lands. We only really do it in really critical situations, but otherwise we prefer go through the process of private treaty, negotiate with the landlord, rather than go for the route of compulsory acquisition. But currently we do not need lands in Portsmouth for housing, because as you would know, we had acquired 25 acres of land in Cotton Hill some years ago, and that's where we were building the first 68 units in Cotton Hill. And we've already subdivided by way of surveys the rest of that land that we intend to sell to prospective homeowners in the town of Portsmouth and the cottage constituency. And plus you have the lands at Georgetown where we'll be building this new city really in Georgetown. So in terms of land for housing, the government doesn't have a need now. I'm not saying we don't need to have it tomorrow, because with all of the developments in Portsmouth, you're gonna see in the next few years a movement of people from Roseau and other parts of the country, Marigot and so forth, to Portsmouth, and they're gonna start needing homes, lands to build and homes to live in, and so there's going to be demand in the next few years. And I think when we get there, we can look at this. But you and I know the land very well. You know, I'm a PSS man myself. You know, so I know the lands very well. You're talking about it is prime land for any kind of development. You know, but that suggestion formed part of a discussion which the residents of Portsmouth had when they were developing the development plan for Portsmouth. So they looked at all of those lands, including those at Sugarloaf and 1 Mile, to see what can be done with those lands to create greater economic wealth and opportunities for the people of Portsmouth. And so I think this is still part of the dialogue and the discussion, but no definitive decision has been taken in respect to the acquisition of those tracts of land in Portsmouth.
11 minutes, moving up to 11 o'clock. Gentlemen, I think we can safely end at 11 o'clock.
Yeah, 11 o'clock.
Yes, but Ms. Isaac, I want to ask you a question, but we'll do it after this caller on the telephone. Caller, good night.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, PM.
Hi, good evening to you.
How you doing?
I'm fine.
What do you
Hello, can you speak up, please?
I said good evening.
Good evening, good evening. Yes.
I'm listening.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, I'm hoping to see you soon.
Soon, very soon, I promise.
All right.
I promise.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your call tonight. Mr. Isaac, you've had 2 trips in recent times, one to Guyana, one to Suriname. I want to ask you a 2-part question. 1, how do you compare the results of these trips? And 2, how do you compare your traveling companions on these trips?
That is the toughest question you asked me for the night.
I waited, you know.
PM, I'm more experienced than me in them thing. PM, you think I should make that one pass? A white ball? Yeah, man, wide on now. No, but I can comment on the Suriname trip. I think the Suriname trip focused on the issue of trade, cultural exchange, issue of I would say exchanging learnings, you know, so transfer of knowledge. So we start that process. As I said earlier, that some of my colleagues, my staff in the forestry division and agriculture, PS of agriculture, are in contact with the people in Suriname. We just want to place on record that we were treated very well, proper protocol, and also in regards to.
So in other words, you did not jump in somebody else's car.
You see, PM is better than me in those issues. You see, my experience. So that's why I leave the first one. You know, I focusing on the positive. So yes. So I think all in all, it was a very, very fruitful, very productive, and successful trip. I mean, as things unfold, the public will get to know more details on the matter. But as I said, we were talking about issues of cultural exchange and all that. So later on, as things unfold, we'll get to know more about that. I just wanted to wind up Creek And just to reiterate to the people of Roseau that I'll be working with a lot of key people like Alvin Bernard, Robert Tong, and all the other people who have in one way contributed already in the political life of Roseau. I'll be working with them to ensure that we can implement some of the projects that I've mentioned. Remember what we mentioned. We mentioned the issue of housing in Roseau as a major initiative. We spoke about the Roseau Road Reinstatement Project, which involves the running of our utility lines underground and fixing of the roads, where we'll focus on 3 major veins. We'll be looking at the river walls. We'll be looking at the redevelopment of the botanic gardens to include I would say an urban park concept. We will be working with the women of Roseau, the single women, the women who are trying to develop. I think a lot of the people of Roseau, since I've come on board as a minister of government and playing a different role as a parliamentary representative, being able to deliver, they would be able to testify that so far a lot of things have been delivered so far in the area of direct medical support, emergency support. We have delivered that through the Minister of Finance approving some of the requests. In terms of tertiary education scholarships, we have also delivered that. I just want to place on record, we have had about direct scholarships already in the first 60 days, as you were saying earlier, 60, 70 days, about 7 scholarships from medicine to business to computer science. We have also in the area of housing delivered again in terms of materials. We had the first tranche of material in the Windsor Park Stadium. Most of it, or 95% of it, have been used up or delivered to people to repair their or retrofit their homes. As I said earlier, we have gotten through the Minister of Finance approval for direct materials, which is going through the process that have been approved, but you know the bureaucratic system, so it's going through this process. We also get approval to fix some homes, labor and materials through myself in one initiative and Robbie Tong in another initiative. So together, as I said, we have a total of 1-point-something million in the first round. We have already started roof repair, and that in my case, that is in the first 60 days. Roof repair I have started again through approval from the Minister of Finance. So all in all, I would say we have delivered in the first 60 days, and I think that politically the nationalistic approach has worked. The Prime Minister kept to his promise, and the Minister of Finance kept to his promise also, and have without hesitation given support to the people of Roseau Central. I want to commend him and thank him for that. And then now, as I said, in regards to project initiatives, we will be moving aggressively in terms of, in the same development strategy for the botanic gardens, we'll ensure that people have the opportunity to practice their football. We'll ensure that the basketball court will be reinstated. And I think all in all the plans we have, where we already start developing the People's Park, you'll see where we'll turn it to a proper modern green space. The Bayfront is well on its way already. Through the collaboration of the Ministry of Tourism and the Ministry of Urban Renewal. So again, the Honorable Senator Robbie Tong and myself will be collaborating to deal with the vendor issues in Roseau. where we'll be dealing with the vendor kit, which might be a more longer term project. But we have already discussed the issue of getting some smaller vendor kits, so that the vendors can use that. So all in all, I think we are really on track. I just try to summarize the Roseau area. But remember, as the Minister of Climate Resilience, the Environment, and also Disaster Management, I have already articulated many initiatives that we have started. I just want to flag one thing before I end, that I would like Dominica and all Dominicans across Dominica, and even if you're away, if you're coming down, be prepared that sometime in October, November, we'll have a tree planting day across Dominica. So I would like to thank Daryl, thank you for having me here tonight. I'm happy that I was there with the Prime Minister. I find it a very interactive program, and I enjoyed my first innings batting with the Prime Minister. So thank you.
Might I invite you to come back next week by yourself? Come face the ball in.
no problem. The ball, remember, the game started already. So.
All right. PM, your final words, but I want you to leave on a light note. Maybe I want to ask you, who do you fancy winning the World Cup?
I have not, unfortunately, I have not had the time to follow the World Cup. I have not had the time to see any of the matches at all, so I really have not been following this year. Too busy.
Yes.
Yeah, too busy. But I want to thank you, Daryl, for having me here on DBS Radio and, of course, on Kyrie FM. For me, this is one of the most exciting parts of the job. The opportunity to both inform the people and also to hear from the people. So I'm always willing to avail myself to these opportunities, because information is important, and let people do what they wish with the information that they have, but at least the information is provided to them, and updates are given as to what the government is doing in the various sectors of the society for and on behalf of the people of Dominica. We look forward to being invited again. I want to thank Honorable Isaac for being here for myself and speaking so eloquently about his own ministerial responsibilities and that of his parliamentary responsibility, and to give the people of the Roseau Central constituency from commitment to providing the resources to make life better for them and to improve their way of life, and that the Roseau Enhancement Project will definitely begin with the help of God this year, and people will start appreciating the vision, because sometimes people don't see it until they see it. They're doubting Thomases, and I respect that. I mean, different people have different views and different approaches to life, but I give you the assurance that we're not slipping. We're not slipping at all. We're out there working hard. Sometimes you may not see us, sometimes you may not hear us, because there are times you have to be in the back room working and strategizing and putting plans in place to help you, the people of Dominica. It is not an easy task. It is not an easy road. It's a huge responsibility of unprecedented national demands. This hurricane has certainly put 20 times more work on us, but we are pacing through, and we seeking to address the issues confronting the citizens as the days and the weeks and the months go by. But as I said, the key is for us to work together. The key is for us to be patient and tolerant, because I keep telling you, just imagine the challenges which you have just with one family yourself. Just with one family, and with one little yard and one little house, and you're still having challenges. So you can imagine the challenge we have as government to deal with the whole country, So it's not easy at all, but we're committed to you, the people of Dominica. We know that many of you have challenges, and the only people you can turn to is the government for help, because you don't have any other means. And even if you have not gotten help yet, help will get to you at some point. So I don't want us to be despondent because we haven't gotten help yet. I think we have to be on the positive side. Let us look at the cup half full rather than half empty, and to contribute to the Lord that one day the opportunity will come to you. But we're committed to you and committed to helping as many people as we can at the same time. But obviously we can't help everybody at the same time. But the commitment is there, the genuine desire to help you is very strong and solid within the government, and it's a full commitment. And for us, really, we do these things not with any political partisan preoccupation. You know, the party's principles are our guiding principles, or guiding actions, guiding our actions, and also biblically too. The need for us to help the less fortunate and to reach out to people, you know, and also an intrinsic conviction on the part of ourselves within the government, within the party, that we have to help people, and many of you, without the help of government, life would not be, you will not have any hope, and therefore the government must continue to give you that hope, not only by words, but also by our tangible support to you and your family. So reach out to us, you know, and let us work together to hearing your challenge, and also working together to solving your problems and your issues. Thank you very much, Daryl, and of course the management of both Kyrie FM and DBS Radio for making this program available to the people. Yes. And we're happy to be here. 3 hours.
Yes.
3 hours of information. You know, it's very fulfilling. So let us. I wish you a very pleasant night's rest, all of you listening. Let us look with excitement to tomorrow, and let us make a contribution to our country and to our God. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. The Prime Minister, the Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, the Prime Minister, Minister of Finance, Investment, Housing and Lands, and of course, first and foremost, the Parliamentary Representative for the Viacas constituency, our guest on Focus on Government and Development tonight, along with the Minister for the Environment, Climate Resilience, Disaster Management and Urban Renewal, and the Parliamentary Representative for the Roseau Central constituency, Honorable Joseph Isaac, and of course,